well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to the penultimate round of the Motorsport UK Esports 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup as powered by the Sim Racing Collective, hosted on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing, and proudly brought to you in support with our official prize partners Phil and Simagic. Round number 4 of 5 has come around and we have made our way to Australia, but with it a trip back in time. We've gone back to January 2010 and we have made our way all the way back to the Sydney suburb circuit of none other than Oran Park Raceway. Once a staple of Australian motorsport, hosted on an annual basis the VA Supercar Championship, previously known as the Australian Touring Car Championship, as well as occasionally hosting likes of World Superbike and Formula 1, is a circuit that after 64 years of operation was retired and demolished in 2010, and nowadays it is the home of a suburb of the city of Sydney. However, back in its heyday, it was definitely up there as one of the Australian greats, and that's why we've revived it from the ashes today to see all drivers take it on in what is expected to be a hotly contested round of racing action, and it's not just because of the Australian sun. But as we get ready to go racing, of course, we welcome you to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in today, catching all the race action as it unfolds via one of 3 media channels. First, of course, you have the 2 official Motorsport UK Esports media channels, one on YouTube, and hello to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube at youtube.com and search up Motorsport UK Esports or MSUK Esports. Alternatively, you do, of course, have our Twitch channel, which is available to you, and that's on twitch.tv/none other than Motorsport UK Esports. And hello to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. Or lastly, you do have the alternative YouTube broadcast available, and we know there's a couple of you there, and that's on youtube.com and search your TSRC or the Sim Racing Collective, the official supporting group which are powering the Rookie Sportscar Cup. As we make our way into this round, of course, as per usual, we open up with our support series as brought to you by the Sim Racing Collective, and it is none other than the Hot Hatch Trophy. Clio Cup racing at its finest, and as we get ready to go racing once again today, well, we can definitely expect things to be on the precipice of what could be greatness of some, or alternatively the demise of others, as only 2 rounds remaining. Every point is now proven absolutely precious. But as we come into another round of racing, in the content booth you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, initiated, and I'll be your host and commentator this season. But alas, I digress, as we should focus more on our schedule for tonight's broadcast, and here it is on screen. As we can see, we're right in the throes of qualifying right now for the Hot Hatch Trophy, brought to you by TSRC, and then we'll go straight into their race, 30 minutes in duration at 7:10 UK time. Then we have a brief break, albeit not before we do have our interviews with our drivers from the TSRC Hot Hatch Trophy, and then after that break, we'll be back at 8 o'clock this evening for the qualifying session for our main event, the Rookie Sportscar Cup. Our MX-5 rookies making their way out onto the circuit once again, and we'll see them take on the circuit in 10 minutes of qualifying firstly, after which then they'll make their way to the grid for the first of 2 races, 2 two 20-minute races. The first one sees them grid up as they qualified. The second one, of course, the all-important top 8 inverted grid. And what's absolutely bumper-packed schedule. And after all that, we will again be getting interviews from our select drivers from the Rookie Sportscar Cup. So an action-packed schedule without a doubt. And just to remind you of the calendar, we've been to Snetterton, we've been to Rudskogen, and last time out, we were at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in Germany. And we've gone from two highly technical circuits in the form of Rudskogen and Oschersleben, now to a circuit which is definitely a mixture of all. And it's no particular aspect which our drivers we test on. They'll be tested on everything. And with limited straights as well, overtaking around here is definitely going to prove challenging. And of course, this sets us up very nicely for our season finale in a week's time, as we'll make our way back to the United Kingdom, but to the Premier Northwestern English Circuit. It will be Oran Park International without the Britain chicane. But that lies in a week's time, Monday the 27th of July. Today is Monday the 20th of July, and let's talk a little bit more about a host circuit. It's the Oran Park Raceway, located in the suburb of Narellan in the state of New South Wales, Australia. 2.6 kilometres in length, or 1.62 miles in length, depending on your preference units, but what never changes the number of quarters. 12 of them in total, and many of them at the time household names, whether it be the sweeper into Coca-Cola at turns 1 and 2, or alternatively Recaro Corner at turn number 12. This is definitely one of those circuits whereby with its iconic figure of 8 layout, indeed some would say iconic just as much as Suzuka in Japan, given both of them figure of 8 layouts, is one of those circuits whereby running anti-clockwise, there's going to be a lot of pressure to get those left-handers right more than the right-handers. But as the drivers get ready to take on the circuit, a quick reminder of the rules for our Hut Hatch Trophy, our support series. Qualifying there for 3 laps available over 8 minutes, and then we go straight to the grid for our 30-minute race. Setups are fixed. Everyone is running an identical setup on the car, and one fast pair available should they need to use it. But otherwise, we're not expecting any pit stops, unless, of course, the driver has picked up a drive-through penalty for 17 or more instant points. And our starts, as always, are standing starts. But without further ado, that brings us very nicely back to the most important recipe for what is a great evening, and that is some absolutely brilliant race action on circuit, albeit we're in the throes of qualifying right now, and we're into our final qualifying laps here for our drivers. And currently the fastest driver out there is none other than Adrian Borowski, looking very rapid indeed as he makes his way on through. And right now Ian Rankin making his way around there, as well as Tony Preston. And all the drivers absolutely out there right now going for gold, no doubt about it. But Adrian Borowski definitely looking to be a bit of a weapon here today ahead of Thomas Hill and Tom Davidson. But as we give you a little bit of a peek of our drivers making the way on the round, well, that gives us now a bit of time to bring up the standings coming into this round. Indeed, we haven't forgotten about the fact we've got some championship standings to bring you. As we do look to the scenic view, this is how the standings stand after a grand total was been none other than what is the best part of 4 rounds of racing action. And as we can see, well, after 3 rounds of racing action, let me get myself correct there, Andrew Pike leads the way with 2 wins. And so far, the SimRacing Collective Esports driver looking absolutely unstoppable and inflappable up front. Although qualifying last time out, he did not set a lap at Oschersleben, and therefore had to make it count from the back of the field, to which he went from 16th to 5th. And well, could that prove critical when we go to our season finale with 1 drop score available to our drivers? Kieran Sharp finally getting that first win on the board last time out. We definitely led every lap at Oschersleben, despite the intentions of Tom Davidson. And then we have Adrian Borowski there, sitting in 3rd place. And the priority of right now 9, there's a bit more work to be done there, albeit he has proven to be Mr. 3rd place so far, given 2 3rd places and a non-finish. But right now, if he's able to stay in pole position, could he go on to take his first win of the season and level things up before the season finale? Thomas Hill sits in 4th ahead of Tom Davidson. Then we have Patrick Gallagher ahead of Craig Twardock, who had a very frustrating day in the office at Oschersleben, with Janos Wenzel, Ian Rankin and Matt Sheraton completing the top 10. Outside the top 10, it's Philip Moros in 11th ahead of James Stone Radford, Willio Aina, Conrad Kula and Ben Brown completed top 15. And then round off that top 20, it's none other than what is Julian Rehrberger ahead of Jay Walsh, Tony Preston, Byron Forrest II and Lenny Hansen. And outside the top 20, let's not forget about some other drivers. Those who points their name, Artem Fomin, Harry Mason and also Michael Luke Jackson. And yet score any points, we do have Luciano Gonzalez, Harley Butcher, Kieran O'Reilly and Alan Duhick. Well, ladies and gents, that very quickly brings us into talking about our standings. And just as quickly as we covered them, we go away for them, and we're almost complete here with this qualifying session. Only moments to go before we do see the checker flag brought out. And well, unfortunately for Harry Mason, he's not going to complete this lap, and instead time will run out. Here we take it to the pit lane, but it's Adrian Borowski on pole. And as all drivers make their way to the grid, well, let's walk you through how exactly they'll line up then for our one and only Hot Hatch Trophy race for this round. And as all drivers make the rounds to the grid, this is how they'll all line up for the penultimate race of their season. And taking pole position, his maiden pole position will 1 minute 14.848. It is none other than Adrian Borowski there. A very impressive lap set by him. He'll be joined on the front row by his fellow privateer, Thomas Hill. And well, the man in the 196 will definitely be eager to try and see if he can pounce a victory. He's been chasing a win all season long. Tom Davidson starts in third for the SimRacing Collective Esports. Another solid qualifying performance from him. And Kieran Sharp, the second place man in the championship, who looks to make it 2 wins in a row today. He he starts 4th. Then we do have his teammate Craig Twardock started in 5th place, hoping not to have an elbows out day that goes against him today compared to Germany, although he'll be with the man who definitely got his elbows out against him last time out, Janos Wenzel, who starts in 6th. Then 7th on the grid, it's Andrew Pike, the man who leads the championship and joined quite late today, late to practice, but to be fair, better late than never. He starts in 7th ahead of James Stone Bradford. And it's Julian Rehberg ahead of Philip Moraz completing your top 10. Starting 11th is Patrick Gallick for Missed Apex Motorsport, and well, started directly behind his teammate who he missed on the grid last time out and gave him a shout out in his post-round interview. Good to see them both here today, and Ian Rankin starting in 12th place. Then 13th, it's going to be Jay Walsh ahead of Lenny Hansen for Wheelchair Racing. Next, Dogs is Harry Mason ahead of Tony Preston, and Artem Fomin. If he does get to the grid, well, I do believe he will, no lap set, he starts in 17th last, but by no means least. Well, that's how our grid stands, ladies and gentlemen. 17 drivers have made the journey to Australia today. They're all absolutely itching and ready to go. We're almost ready to go as well. This is going to be a thriller for 30 minutes. And of course, this circuit stapled in the minds of anyone who's a big VA supercar fan, or indeed anyone who does love a short circuit that has a lot more compared to its mileage would suggest packed into its length. And we're waiting for the last couple of cars to get into position. In fact, they are. So here come the lights. And as the revs rise, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights and away we go for our first race on the schedule today as Adrian Broski gets a good start, but the Polish driver immediately has to cover Thomas Hill. He gets a better launch, but as they come down towards the opening sweep, you can see everyone tucking to the inside. Thomas Hill flashes headlights there to say to Broski, I'm not going to attack you on the inside, take your racing line. But as they all come through all of our Clio Cup cars, they're all close together. Oh, that's gone sideways, and that's going to be very sideways for Philip Moraz, and a couple of other drivers being collected there, but Philip Moraz coming off the worst of it. Patrick Gallick as well, he was the first one to go round, and also we do see that big spin. That's Tony Preston going to the back of the field and trying to get it back together. But once it's gone wrong for them, meanwhile it's going right for some. Thomas Hill still trying to attack Borowski here, but I think trying to work with the Polish driver in order to break away. Tom Davidson holding off Kieran Sharp for now, but plenty of fighting between these drivers. They make the way over the bridge. But as they come over the Yokohama Bridge, now who's going to fight whom? As Craig Twardock looks up the inside of Kieran Sharp. That's not going to work out as they roll their way down through what will be turn number 7. And as they get ready to make the way in towards the backstretch, well, right now the top 10 has definitely split away from the rest of the field, but there's more to come surely a bit later on. As we look back to Philip Moraz, well, he's immediately going on the attack here, trying to find his way past Ian Rankin, who's missed the front bumper amongst other things on his car, and we'll make that move stick quite quickly. But as they come over the rise, well, from them back to the leaders. And here we can see Adrian Broski, the man who started on pole after one lap, leading away. But as he heads on down there, Thomas Hill once again flashes headlights, saying to him, don't defend, let's work together. And Hill trying to use the proverbial driver's Morse code here, which of course, a flash of the headlights can mean so many different things at high speed. But right now, Hill looking around the outside, Broski is not taking heed of his words, or at least his Morse code with the headlights, and says, no, I'm going to go defensive. And of course, that's only going to cost him all time and a bit of tyre life, particularly for our race leader. So Hill's now got to make a choice. Does he continue to try and help out the leader, or does he go for a switchback? And he looks up the inside, they're going for the move. Can Hill get it done here? Trying to take the lead for the first time this season. Oh, there's contact between the two of them. And will they touch once? But they get away a bit. Looking up the inside again into the second of the 90 right corners. A little bit of squeeze, a little bit of a kiss between the two cars, but nothing more than that as they've rolled the way over the bridge. Looking back from the rear of your race leader, your number 97 driver, Borowski, right now really digging in deep here as they roll the way around. Great battle in between them. And as they come down the hill, we say hello there to Futile Podium in the YouTube chat. And I hope you're doing well, good sir, in the Motorsport UK Esports chat and enjoying the races so far. And indeed, don't be shy if you're all tuning in. Feel free to let us know how you're doing. Feel free to say hi. As right now, Thomas Hill tries to say hello to the back of Borowski's car once again. Looking around the outside. Is it going to work? Not quite there as Tom Davidson almost makes it diagonal 3 wide as they come towards the end of lap number 2. And we'll get the feeling with all the fighting right now. It's going to be a question of who's got any tyre life left towards the end of the race if they keep pushing each other like this. But that's always where the spectacle's going to be as they make the way across that time line once again. But Kieran Sharp right now watching on from behind here as they all fan out. And right now, Davidson and Sharp, they know what's up, which is just simply stay on the racing line and keep an eye on what's going on between the top 2. Further back, Andrew Pike, the man who started in 7th place, he's exactly where he started the boat, and bringing with him James Stone Radford, as Julian Rehberger being gradually dropped as the Mr. Apex Motorsport driver misses his apex. But meanwhile, we almost missed this moment here as it's going to be Davidson having to go defensive versus Sharp, and up onto 2 wheels there, Hill for a brief moment. And so they'll come through in towards turn number 4. And right now, Thomas Hill really trying to push the door open. A little bit of contact there between him and Borowski. But right now, elbows between these two. Nothing less we'd expect as they make the way through through into the second half of the lap right now. Hill's still on the inside here. Has he got this move done? It looks like he will just about get it done. And a lovely move being made there by Thomas Hill. Into lead he goes. But Adrian Broski right now, look at this and think, okay, the move's been made, but it's not over yet. There's still a long way to go. We're only 4 minutes into this race, if that. But right now, all the hot hatches absolutely push each other to the limit. As we can see a little bit further back there, Andrew Pike looking at Janos Wenzel. Craig Twardok looking to go side by side. Wenzel trying to go around the outside here on Twardok. Twardok in the Napa Racing livery machine. Indeed, many of these drivers here, huge fans of the British Touring Car Championship, which you'll see several of these liveries based, including Andrew Pike's Nescafe Blend 57 car, a tribute, of course, to the Williams Renault livery of the Super Touring era in 1999, and the infamous Jason Plato car. But as they make the way in towards turns 1 and 2 this time, there's no time for nostalgia right now. There's time for action on circuit instead. And Janos Wenzel in the wheel, white car goes very sideways there, a bit too heavy on the brakes, and the rear of the car catches him out as he now loses the place he gained to Twardok. And you see the James Stone Radford trying to go around the outside. The Dog's driver, well, he's got a lot of bark, but has he got any bite with regards to this move? The answer is going to be, well, he's definitely biting into it right now. As they go too wide in towards turn number 4, can he get it done? Not quite there. There's going to be a bit of a lean from Wenzel to make sure Stone Radford has to go all the way around the outside. It's not going to work as they make the way over the bridge. And well, right now, Stone Radford's not taking no for an answer as he tries to go around the outside, but he understeers further wide, and that's going to cost him the opportunity. Julian Redberger now closes up. But whilst that's been happening, Craig Twardok has moved his way back ahead of Andrew Pike, as Janos Wenzel has now been forced down to 7th place. We're seeing the top 2 starting to bolt away a little bit, as Tom Davidson being pressured by Kieran Sharp. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if your number 23 driver's probably thinking, well, given the situation in the championship, that he needs to get past Davidson. He can't afford to sit there, particularly if that gap now starts to open up to 1.5 seconds or so. As they almost brush the exit wall there. That exit will be in the denies, a detriment of many a drive over 64 years of history. And as they make the way down towards turn 1 right now, well, Kieran Sharp definitely staying glued to the back of his rival in front, but it's all part of positioning here. Remember, tyre life, it has been a big thing over the course of this season, these 30-minute races, big lockups in front. Oh, and that gets elbows out there. That stage left entry from Craig Twardok goes up the inside of Kieran Sharp, and making a move very quickly happen there as Andrew Pike looks for a move and Sharp as well. And as they say, kick a man when he's down. And right now, we're definitely pushing each other around here, but is this costing them all time? Well, Tom Davison will be grateful for that as he tries to pull away a little bit. But it's not just about the fight at the front, as we look a bit further back here to none other than Lenny Hansen, Julian Redberger and Jay Walsh. And Lenny Hansen has been very impressive, making his way all the way up to 9th place, a 14th place start. Yes, he's been aided somewhat, you could say, by the difficulties of others at the start of the race. But also, to be fair to number 69 driver, he's had to get on the hustle here to make his way to the top 10. And right now, could be, of course, a very nice haul of points. Let's wait and see if that's the way it goes. As Jay Walsh watches on behind. And right now, the number 16 driver here, staying as glued as firmly as he can to the back of Julian Redberger. And we're trying to look for a move in. But can it work out? The answer may be no at this point. And rolling his way between the apexes. Right now, the British driver definitely trying to get his head down and move it on. But as they move on and continue to make the way further and further into this race, very shortly we are going to get a replay of what exactly happened at the start, because it went wrong for Patrick Gallick and also for Tony Preston and Philip Moroz. 3 drivers who really got caught out to the start. Also Artem Fomin having difficulty, but here comes Kieran Sharp looking at the inside of Craig Twardok. Twardok goes to the grass, he's going to go deep into the gravel trap, and well, it is a biff to the barrier there for Twardok, and that's going to send him all the way down the order. Twardok just coming in a little bit too hot there, and Will being goaded into a mistake, being psyched out into one as me. Well, that's a big move up the inside for Janos Wenzel and Andrew Pike, and Pike's not going to be too happy about that one. Janos Wenzel going for it, but I think he feels as though there wasn't the space to do so. Jay Walsh, meanwhile, absolutely chucking up the inside there versus Julian Redberger, and makes the move stick in the all yellow and black Clio Cup car. Well, literally, I say it's a Clio Cup car because that's what it says on the side of it. Well, as he makes his way out to turn number 4, well, Jay Walsh definitely making himself known right now. I can promise you, he's not part of the family that I'm part of, even though we share the same surname. But good to see the Walsh man doing a very good job out there. As he roars his way on around, well, meanwhile, come back to Thomas Hill and Adrian Broski, your leaders. And right now, they're running quite patiently out there and coming towards the end of the opening third of this race. And right now, hoping that they can continue just to extract a bit of a lead, as we are seeing a couple of small lockups there on the front right for Adrian Broski. And those lockups, of course, will excite tyre temperature and just go into a little bit more brake wear and tyre wear with it. But as they wear the way off into the distance, we make our way all the way back to the start. And how exactly did the race begin? And with this, a replay of how it all kicked off between several drivers as we went green flag racing. And well, as they did so, the lights were on, and then suddenly they were out. And it was a great start there from both Adrian Broski and Thomas Hill. And you can see Hill immediately tucking in there and trying to work with his pole starting rival in order to make sure that the two of them did not hurt each other in the run towards turn number 1. But where it all went wrong was a bit further back. Philip Moroz found himself right in the heart of the madness, and where it was too wide between him and Patrick Gallick, Gallick lost the rear of the car there in the purple and white car. Philip Moroz being collected by him, and as they all all tried to get it back together. Well, there was contact there between Jay Walsh and Tony Preston, and well, it looks like Tony Preston being turned around as a result of that contact. Now, what did it look like from Preston's on board? Well, here we go back in time again to see what happened to him. So into the braking zone he went, and we're a bit further back here, taking it nice and safe at the start, knowing there was going to potentially be a bit of an incident, and we threaded the needle, and oh, goodness me, that explains it a bit more. So that camera angle shows that Patrick Gallick's car did roll back on towards the apex. Preston pulled to the right and collected himself with Jay Walsh, and in the end, well, it was Tony Preston who found himself between a rock and a hard place, like a Dodgem car in a way, being knocked about there. Definitely not the way he wanted it to go. But whilst it did go a bit wrong for him, unfortunately, we did have this for Artem Fomin on lap number 3. And this was the pro team making its way down towards turn number 1 and 2. And, well, hitting the apex curve a bit too high. Rear of the car let go. Patrick Gallick did the same. And, well, both drives there got it all sorts of wrong. And for Artem Fomin, well, his race was over after that, as that was also into the gravel trap. Tony Preston there. Everyone making mistakes, so probably there's not oil down there. And Artem Fomin shortly after making his way into the pits. But meanwhile, as we come back to your live racing, well, definitely a bit of a shaky start for some. But meanwhile, plenty of exciting racing action for others, as all these drivers continue the way through. And we are to the end now of our opening 10 minutes. As we say hello there to Easy Flat Racing Team, or the EFR team. And, well, they're all ready for Harry Fletcher to see whether he can seal the deal in the Rookie Sportscar Cup that's coming up after this race. But, of course, that's the main event. We're here in the Sport Act at the moment, and the wonderful hot hatches roaring the way on through. And as Thomas Hill continues to try and hold on at the moment, well, meanwhile, a bit further back, Janos Wenzel still trying to attack Andrew Pike. And, of course, these two have already had a bit of a conversation on the road, with Janos Wenzel trying that cheeky move up the inside in towards turn number 3. Didn't work out. And if I don't think Pike was too impressed by the fact that the elbows got out between the two very quickly. But right now, the German driver definitely thinking about an opportunity here as they run as wide as possible out to that final corner. So to the point that the automated sensors that are in the pit lane entry, they sometimes think the drivers actually come into the pit lane, but not quite so. They're just using all the road. So that's why every so often you will see in the time down left-hand side, it'll say a driver's come into the pits when they actually haven't for a brief moment. But right now, focus on what's on our screen. Janos Wenzel will see it. Andrew Pike really locking up that front left brake. And well, Pike's got to be careful about that, just for the simple reason. If he keeps doing it, the rear of the car is going to become loose and loose, because he's expecting those front tyres to do all the hard work, which they do, of course. Front engine, front wheel drive car. These Clio Cup cars being a step towards a TCR machine, available on iRacing as well. And right now, these Clio Cup cars are highly popular for those who love front engine, front wheel drive. And, well, of course, the biggest part of them is make sure you don't cook the front tyres. If you do so, then they all fall apart very quickly. Adrian Broski, meanwhile, after being passed by Thomas Hill, he now finds himself under attack from Tom Davidson. So the man who started the pole definitely finding himself going for his best qualifying points of the season. But can he hold on here for his best finishing position of the season? His best so far has been 2 third places and a non-finish. So therefore, understandably, he wants a second or a first. He won't accept any less. If he does finish third, then it's going to pretty much confirm him as Mr. Third Place. Albeit as he comes out to the final quarter this time, whether he wants that nickname or not, we're not going to hopefully staple it to him as he roars his way onwards a little bit longer. As Kieran Sharp stays behind there, catching back up to Davidson. A 1.7 gap now, merging to Andrew Pike behind. There it is. And then Janos Wenzel a bit further back. But whilst the battling at the front starts to calm down, meanwhile, we come back to the battle for 10th place. Julian Rehrberger versus Jay Walsh. And right now, the Mr. Apex Motorsport driver trying to make a move here, Stick. Albeit Jay Walsh as well, really going through the field. Bit of a question mark, of course, with what happened at turn 1. I think both drivers have now put that behind themselves. Indeed, you can't really think about the past. You've got to focus on the present. As we do see Rehrberger getting a better run coming out of turn number 2. And out to Coca-Cola now. Will it be fizz and pop for him? The answer is going to be no, not quite. As much he goes to the switchback, he just goes a little bit too late on the brakes down. Unfortunately, locks up the front right and has to release the brake and calm the car down before he's able to get a move done. But behind, here's Harry Mason, as the Dogs Trust driver makes his way over the Okoma Bridge as he comes all the way around the back section of the moment. Well, trying to get a bit closer here, but this onboard really gives you an idea of the kind of circuit they're dealing with. And you'll notice the fact that in these Clio Cup cars, it is a relatively wide circuit. How the amount of racing room you really have on this circuit is quite limited. There's only one racing line, as you'd expect of any other circuit, and to go off that racing line is to put yourself at a severe disadvantage for where you position yourself into a corner, particularly a car recorder at turn number 12. So he makes his way on around. Well, right now you can see that Harry Mason definitely just getting his head down and trying to catch up, and perhaps hoping that he sees Rehrberger attack Walsh a little bit sooner rather than later, as he will be bringing Philip Morose to the party. Now, we have lost Artem Fomin from this race, sadly, but otherwise we have got all of our other starters, albeit Patrick Gallick right now making his way onwards to the Mr. Apex Motorsport machine, and the Austrian driver still shouldering the damage, or sporting the damage of the start of the race, albeit carrying on as best he can. Tony Preston a bit further back in 15th, and And then we do have Ian Rankin, the last year runners right now, and he really was the biggest loser of everything that happened. And we'll definitely get his head down as best he can for the remaining distance. But meanwhile, 2Y coming over the bridge, and that's Craig Tardot trying to take a place back off of Stone Radford, and does so quite straightforward so, because he makes his way through turn 5 in towards 6. Now the 200 driver there, finding that Stone Radford not really able to offer too much of a fight. And I wonder if Stone Radford had understeered wide there. Well, let's take a quick look back and find out. So this was making the way out to turn at number 4, and Stone Radford just in the end, I think he might have hit the limiter coming out the corner because he's misshifted there. He's picked up no speed coming out onto the bridge, and Twadok getting that move done very quickly as we return to your live racing. As we do come back, we look to your leaders then. They go on to their 12th tour of the circuit. Quick laps here, as we see Shroom1 in the Sim Racing Collective YouTube chat, cheering on Tom Davidson. And indeed, I know the Sim Racing Collective community have a few favourite drivers out there. A lot of these drivers have raced each other for years at this point, all coming together. And indeed, a lot of these Clio Cup drivers, they know each other over years of racing, not just in Clio Cups, but in a multitude of disciplines. And right now, Thomas Hill just trying to hold on. But of course, he finds himself in the unenviable position that Adrian Borowski did earlier on, which is, you're the leader, you've got no slipstream to work with, you've got to do this all on your own pace, and Adrian Borowski has been biding his time as they make the way through the bridge, and well, coming down into the second section of the lap now, getting ready for the S's, and as they get ready for that corner, well, right now, what's going to be the game plan from Hill? Does he continue to lead this race, or does he let track position go for the thought of putting the pressure onto somebody else? But the problem with that is, of course, in theory, what it requires you to do is stay close to the guy in front and make sure you attack them in the final couple of laps. But of course, when we get towards the end of the race, that's when cars suddenly become a lot wider than they look. As we, well, can see there, Borowski getting very late on the brakes, and right now, absolutely pushing hard against Hill. I think trying to help out a little bit as well by bumping him along through the corners, but understandably, Thomas Hill doesn't need the help through the corners. He wants the help on the straights if he's going to be bump drafted. But getting ready now for the next corner here. We can see a little bit of fan out there from Tom Davidson behind, and we say hello there to Samantha McMahon, who cheers on Thomas Hill, and I do believe that's McMahon there. I'm thinking back to what would be none other than the World Wrestling Entertainment, or the WWE days there. I want to see that surname, so I apologise if I completely butchered that for you, Samantha. As I try to make the way through, good to see we've got a few fans there for our different Clio Cup drivers tuning in, and as they make the way on through onto what is this halfway point to the race, well, Sonny 1 second back, there's Andrew Pike looking to give chase, and Janos Wenzel with him. But I think Wenzel right now has decided, you know what, it's better to work together. We'll go on the fight right towards the end, and suddenly we've got a top 6 coming together. Well, that has really been one of the stories of our races this season, which is this field splits apart, only to get in there and get much closer to each other towards the end of the race, and then you get plenty of elbows out racing. Perhaps Snetterton was a bit of an outlier, with Andrew Pike really running away after what was Sharp and Hill's instant coming out of the Wilson hairpin early on the race. But here right now, much as Leben, we did see, of course, what was Davidson and Sharp run away at the front, and Warpridge Kogan, we saw a top 4 battle for the win here today. We could be with the exciting prospect of a top 6 all fighting for that win right at the end. But whilst they're fighting, meanwhile, Jay Walsh, he's picked up a yellow flag, so that's a slowdown penalty he's having to serve a track limit, and just in front is Letty Hansen, the wheelchair racing driver, still trying to hold on here as Walsh burns the slowdown penalty coming out of Recaro corner. We have a 6-way fight for the win. We've also got here a 6-way fight for 9th place, as Walsh and Rareberger right now side by side. Walsh in the yellow machine, Rareberger in the green and white machine on his inside in towards the sweeper, and as we get ready to go through that and in towards Coca-Cola Bend right now, very sideways car there. That's going to come very loose of Julian Rareberger. Does he get it stopped? He does, but it stops in the middle of the road, and unfortunately for him, let's get a clip by Jay Walsh, but Walsh able to survive it. Philip Moros manages to capitalise on all the chaos that unfolds, and well, in the end, a lovely move there from the Russian driver, but it's not over the edge. Jay Walsh, oh, and there's contact between him and Harry Mason. Mason's been entirely turned around, and well, to get a replay of that when we can, the dog's driver just being sent in the wrong direction, not the way we wanted it to go whatsoever. And what exactly happened there between them all? Well, here's a quick replay to explain, ladies and gentlemen. It was getting very exciting, and then it suddenly just burst onto our screens, and Julian Rareberger on the inside lost the rear of the car through the sweeper, and as he made his way back on, you see that Harry Mason giving Walsh a bit of a good thump on the back bumper, and then what happened through the next couple of quarters? Well, Mason looked to a run here coming up towards turn number 3, looked to the inside versus Walsh, went all in on the brakes, and as he did so, came in way too hot on the brakes there, and as Walsh went to turn in, unfortunately, he turned in, and understandably, I think he thought that he was going to see Mason make the corner, but he didn't, and in the end, the two came together, and Mason being turned across the front bumper of his rival, but no malice cement there, and something tells me that'll probably be treated as a racing instant given the body language of Mason's car under braking. But meanwhile, as Walsh defends versus Julian Rehberger, well, will they be trying to catch back up to Philip Morose, who is now 4 seconds away? Such is how quick the gaps have opened because of the fighting. And well, it could be now a fight for 11th place for Walsh. She was hoping for a top 10, but it does seem as though that top 10 now may be out of arm's reach. But you never know what could happen towards the end if another driver makes an error. As we do say hello to the Motorsport UK Esports official YouTube account there, who's definitely available in the YouTube chat for the Motorsport UK Esports YouTube broadcast. And if you've got any questions at all about this series, or indeed of Rookie Sportscar Cup, or anything that's upcoming at Motorsport UK's Esports Championships, do feel free to ask, because I do believe we have none of the very talented Mr. Paul Crawford there manning the account. I'm sure he'll be able to fill you in if you have got any questions, ladies and gentlemen. But meanwhile, as we see Thomas Hill make his way around, we're on his way down the start for this straight. Well, now we're getting towards the pinch end of this race, where suddenly tyre life is going to become a bit of a concerted factor, but also this is where now drivers start to reveal their hands. Who's got the pace? Who meanwhile was hoping that everyone's going to battle around them, and who's just in between? They're getting ready to get their elbows out. Well, that's what we'll see as they all come through turn number 2. We're at the very back of the lead in what would be there. I'm trying to remember what it would be beyond a quintuplet. I think it's a septuplet, unless I'm mistaken. And right now, as Jados Svensson comes on through, well, he's hoping he can perhaps jump his way up the order, get onto that podium if he can. However, hopes and dreams are very different from realities, and that's what he's got to try and find. He's got to find a way to make it reality if he can. But every time he tries to battle his way past, remember, it's going to get even harder, because when he fights with one driver, he's at risk of peeling another driver away from the battle. That is the difficult point. But as the German driver continues to follow back at the front, Hill right now really doing a masterful job here of trying to lead the ball through, like the Pied Piper in a way. But the Briton right now, well, definitely does not want to be led astray from his target, which is to take that win, and it would be his first win of the season if he can make it happen. He's been on the podium, but he's yet to be a winner. And the 196 driver is very eager to make that happen. Adrian Borowski as well. Should he take the win, the Polishman would get himself right back in contention of the championship with a round to go. And well, that's going to be his big fault as they come on down in towards turn number 1. But Tom Davison and Kieran Sharp, 2 of 3 big names there. Andrew Pike being the other one. Well, a win would mean so much to them, particularly for Sharp. It would put him on parity with Pike going into the season finale. Whereas for Andrew Pike, if he brought home this win, well, it would give him such an advantage going into our final round at Oran Park that he may be able to take his foot slightly off the gas. Although for Andrew Pike, he's not made this easy for himself, starting from 7th place, but he's in 5th now. But he's got 4 more cars to pass, so he wants to take home that very valuable result. Going further back down the order, whilst they're all still squaring up on each other, we'll look to Lenny Hansen, who has a bit of company in the form of Philip Morose. And right now, the Russian driver trying to make his way forward, goes to the switch to the inside here, coming in towards turn number 3. And, well, can't beat Hansen into the braking zone there. The wheelchair racing driver being very clever. And I do believe Lenny does race with a single foot or leg, if you will, in terms of the fact he uses his right foot for both accelerator and also for the brakes. I don't believe he used it for clutch. I think he does use the auto clutch feature on iRacing, which is available. But I do believe due potentially to his disability, although I don't know the full circumstances behind it, but I do believe Lenny Hansen does race with essentially at 1 foot rather than what a lot do, which is 2 feet. 1 on the brake pedal and 1 on the throttle pedal. But there you can see right now, it was Lenny Hansen throttling the gap that Philip Morose was trying to squeeze his way into, but that didn't quite work out. Good defensive driving there from Hansen, and Morose really enjoying the battle. But we come back to the front once again, because we go on to lap number 18. And right now, you could cut the tension of a knife between these 6 drivers at the front, and everyone is still continuing to follow at the moment. But you can see those gaps, they are getting infinitesimally smaller and smaller through every corner. What used to be 4 tenths from car to car is now 2 to 3 tenths from car to car. That's really the closest you can get without considering making a move or really worried about the concertina effect. And as they all coming over the bridge this time, well, who's going to be the first one to budge? Of course, everyone's waiting for the other drivers around now to make a potential move and to see which way it will cause the field to scatter. And nobody wants to be the first one to do it, which is always great if you're Thomas Hill, the leader, because if nobody wants to make a move, then you'll simply all stay in that order. Something tells me that Tom Davidson right now might be looking at this, as is Adrian Borowski, and thinking, you know what, we've got to do something soon, because they make their way for the aluminium dogleg, the O'Brien dogleg as it's known. Well, right now, all these drivers eager for the points, but who is going to bring them home? as they head towards the next lap. Meanwhile, we head a little bit further back. Ian Rankin doing a very good job of closing the gap to Jay Walsh. He's now in 15th place. He's got 2.5 seconds to go. There's Jay Walsh going through the bottom of your camera for a brief moment. And he's dropped Tony Preston by a considerable margin. In terms of other gaps that are coming down, Patrick Gallick is storming after Philip Morose and Lenny Hansen. He may be there right at the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see. But as we say hello to Carbis Free, who says this could be the best race yet for the hatchbacks. And indeed, you're loving it. We're all loving it. I've got a massive grin on my face here in the commentary booth, ladies and gentlemen, because at any moment, this could really all ignite. And that's the thing right now. It's so tense. Well, meanwhile, here's the appetizer for you, because Philip Morose looking up the inside versus Lenny Hansen. But doesn't work out into the sweeper there. But he will get it done in. Hansen outbreaks himself. Morose outbreaks himself, but not as much. And Philip Morose in the end, he does have to really milk that front right brake. And then he gets the move done as Lenny Hansen flashing his headlights there. That's not to complain. That's to distract. And well, Philip Morose is not going to fall for the old trick of the book. But as they settle the differences for now, we look back for the rear of your leader. And this is Thomas Hill, but look at Tom Davidson. Takes a first little peek there, coming through at the chicane. Coming through turns 10 and 11. He's thinking about it. He's probably thinking, Adrian Borowski's taking just a little bit too long to make a move. I want to get this started. Here it comes then, as they make the way onto lap number 20. It's going to be the best part there of what is a run now down the straight, and Davidson getting the better cut out the corner, but tucks back in there. But saying to Borowski, look, if you're not going to get this done, I'm ready to make a move now. And he'll be grateful for this. This is what he's hoping for. He's hoping Davidson's going to go for it, and almost does there. Borowski just holding on for now. But as they come out of the corner, this is also where Kieran Sharp's got to be thinking to himself, okay, if Davidson's going for it, I've got to be making myself ready to also attack. And well, Carbis Free there in the Motorsport UK YouTube chat definitely summarised it very nicely. It feels very much like a ticking time bomb for last lap chaos. Indeed, we hope it's good chaos, not bad chaos, but indeed, right now it's ticking down here. And well, at any moment, it could explode onto our screen. As Andrew Pike, he's got a bit of a comfort gap to Janos Wenzel, so that's the upside of where Pike is in this running order. Wenzel not quite able to stay with them, but I wonder if Wenzel potentially is staying back right now for the intentional purpose, which is if it kicks off, he does not want to be too close, otherwise he won't be able to see what goes wrong, and if he does, need to take evasive action. On the way around, Sky Mayonnaise there, enjoying the racing, saying it's good racing. As meanwhile, we've got some good racing here as well from Jay Walsh and Ian Rankin side by side, and it looks though there it's going to Walsh trying to go around the outside, but Rankin parks it on Apex, and well, the 0 Point Racing privateer absolutely nailing that Apex down to hold on to 14th place. Lovely move from him and Walsh, and he makes it happen. But from what's been a difficult day for him, 5 minutes to go now, and here is Kieran Sharp on the inside of Davidson, so he decides, right, he's going to be the first to break up the pack. Onto the brakes he goes, and Sharp there, can he get it done? Davidson a little bit on the outside still, but he holds his line. Sharp won't have wanted this now. Davidson's got the inside in towards the 90-degree right-hander, a turn number 3. Meanwhile, Andrew Pike, you can see there, betting his bets on what will be Davidson's car, but the margins are marginal as they make the way through, and right now could go either way as Sharp holds the outside line. He's not giving up here. Davidson's giving them the space, and as they come through, turn number 4, who's going to get on the throttle sooner? They're both about the same here as they make their way to the Yokohama Bridge. It's going to be a distance between them and the top 2 now. They're still fighting side by side. A huge slide there from Kieran Sharp, and that's going to be Andrew Pike on his inside now as they come down through turn number 6, and Pike may have this, but Sharp's got to go defensive here. Remember, he needs to beat Pike in order to really keep this championship going in his way. But as they make the way over the rise of turn number 9, well, right now Andrew Pike there settles back in immediately. He can see what's going on. He can see the places in front are getting away, and Pike won't want that. But Kieran Sharp right now, he may have to go to plan B, and that is be as annoying as possible as Pike, as be on Janos Wenzel. And back on the inside of Pike as they make the way out to the last corner and going on to another lap here. 3 more laps to go based on mathematics. We will get a grand total of 24 laps here today. And right now, Janos Wenzel could be the form that helps out in Kieran Sharp's side, but not in the side of Andrew Pike as they make the way into opening corner. And Wenzel immediately backs off here, but Pike's not going to be happy. Wenzel goes for it as well. He goes all the way out the inside. I don't think Pike's got an answer here. And Janos Wenzel, is he going to take 5th place? He may just do so. Here he comes across immediately and says to Pike, take this for size. And as they make the way into the braking zone, well, Pike right now trying to look for the switch back here, but Wenzel parks on the apex, and Andrew Pike in the end sees 5th place stolen from right in front of him, and Kieran Sharp right now has been given a major lifeline here. Meanwhile, your top 2 are Thomas Hill and Adrian Borowski. Here they come back to us, and as they do, they've got a little bit of traffic in front of them. That's Tony Preston. They're coming up behind. They'll probably catch Preston on the final lap at this rate, and what's given Preston is lapping 2.5 seconds a lap slower at the moment in the race, and well, understandably, this could separate the 2 of them. There will be blue flags for Preston, but there'll be blue flags flags to say he needs to hold his line, and it's the responsibility of the lead lap cars to essentially overtake him normally. So right now, Thomas Hill's going to be the first one to have to jump over the speed bumper, Tony Preston. Not to be rude about him, but that's what it'll feel like from his perspective. And as they come on to then the penultimate lap right now, well, Thomas Hill and Adrian Broski, they've got this race themselves. A 1.4 second gap to Tom Davidson. And right now, he's got 7 tenths to Kieran Sharp, and Janos Svensson and Andrew Pike still together. Well, it does look like this top 6 is sunny, spreading out, but it could all come back right at the very end. Meanwhile, Patrick Gallick here trying to pick off Lenny Hansen for what would be 10th place if he can make this work. He's very close here. Remember, Gallick has got some front end damage to the car, so therefore it will hurt him on the straights, who have a lot of aerodynamic drag that he doesn't need. Indeed, that's the least aerodynamic Clio Cup car that I've seen in a while. And as he makes his way onto the stretch here, what's going to move from him as the Austrian driver looking to make amends for the difficult start on lap number 1. And Lenny Hansen hold his line on the racing line. Gallick gradually gaining here as he gets ready to go into the opening bend. Does he risk it all under braking through the sweeper? The answer is no. Trying to get into Hansen's head, trying to get Hansen to outbrake himself. Hansen does not make the mistake. In fact, he does a little bit, but Gallick in the end has a small lock-up of his own. And we're coming out in the end. It's going to be too wide between the two of them. And it's going to be Hansen who holds on for now. But as they make the way through the hairpins, we must come back to the front of the field because Thomas Hill, one more lap to go after this one. There's only one man who right now can stop him, but they both want their first win of the season. Will it be the man who started second who now leads Thomas Hill, or is it going to be the pole sitter? It's been Mr. Third Place all season. Will it be Adrian Broski? Well, here they go, ladies and gentlemen. White flag is out from what I can see out my content booth window. 1 to go. Who is it going to be? Will it be Hill? Will it be Broski? Or can Davidson find a way to get involved? Well, we've been building up to this moment as they make the way through the opening 2 quarters. Hill right now going a bit defensive there, but gradually meanders back onto the racing line. Davidson immediately getting closer as a result. Now within 6 tenths there. It's already cost them the best part of 3 tenths. Just that one defensive move there from Hill. That goes to show you how quickly time is made and lost at Oran Park. But rolling the way out to turn number 3 and up towards 4. Right now, the number 97 driver here definitely keeping his cool. He's probably thinking, I need to do this right at the end of the lap. I need to do it into Recaro bend, and I need the momentum beforehand. Or perhaps he'll think about doing it in towards turn number 9. Always a valid spot, that uphill left-hander. We can go for lunge. You may be able to make some magic happen. Well, only he's going to be the one who knows. 18 seconds left on the clock. This is definitely our last lap. And we're coming over the right. He's falling a little bit further back there through the turn 7-8 chicane. So right now, Broski's going to have to do an all or nothing move here. Unless he settles for second, it's always a fault. And Sharp going a bit wide, coming out to turn number 9 himself. But right now for Thomas Hill, it's looking safe. It's looking sweet. One more corner to go. Out of Recaro bend he goes. And as he makes his way onto the start finish straight, the checker flag awaits him. And for Thomas Hill, it's going to be the long-awaited first win of the season, ahead of Adrian Broski. And there'll be Tom Davidson in 3rd, Kieran Sharp in 4th, Janos Svensson 5th, Andrew Pike can only achieve 6th here, which levels things up between Pike and Sharp going into the season finale. Craig Toddart takes a lonely 7th place, and it'll be James Stone Radford coming home in 8th, with Philip Morose making his way through in gradual time. A little bit further back, let's give this man a round of applause as well. A frustrating lap 1, but he still finished the race a lap down. Tony Preston takes 16th, and then we will see the car Philip Morose come to line there in 9th place before Lenny Hansen makes his journey on down. He just beats Patrick Gallick to the line in the end by a couple attempts, if that in fact it's hundredths, not tenths. And then we will see Julian Rehrberger bring on home at 12th place there. Harry Mason will be a bit further back as he pulls aside. We've still got a couple more drivers to make the way through, including none other than Ian Rankin as he roars his way through the last quarter. And as he does so here, well, the privateer has definitely picked up the pace as the race has gone on. Enjoyed a good scrap with Jay Walsh. He'll bring on home 14th place. And in the rear of the picture shortly, you'll see an asymmetrically coloured car, much like Rankin's car, albeit it will be the yellow and black there, with more yellow than black for Jay Walsh in the number 16, who is your last finish of this race on the lead lap. But what a race, ladies and gentlemen. An incredible one. And what incredible racing there. And I can definitely see Samantha very happy there in the YouTube chat with regards to Thomas Hill taking his first win of the season. It's been a long time coming, no doubt about it. And Rich down to 0, enjoying the racing there. Indeed, everyone absolutely loving that. And we loved it as well. So as we do look to the scenic view, let's take a look at those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries here from the wonderful, the revived Oran Park Raceway in round number 4 of the Sim Racing Collective Hot Hatch Trophy, supports, of course, to the Motorsport UK Esports 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup. And as we can see, after an incredible 30 minutes of racing action, Thomas Hill taking his maiden win of the season by just shy of 4 attempts over Adrian Broski, the pole sitter who lost out midway through the race but never gave up, but Hill just proved to be just that little bit too quick. Tom Davidson taking 3rd place at the end and had to really dig in for the 3rd place versus Kieran Sharp, who had to settle for 4th, but understanding for Sharp, Won't be too upset about it, given the fact he has beat his main rival, Andrew Pike, and between him and Pike, there was none other than Janos Venzo, who was very cheeky and made a sneaky move on Pike when Pike wasn't expecting it to come. So Andrew Pike took 6th, being relegated outside the top 5 for the first time this season, and Craig Todd taking 7th place there in a bit of a frustrating race on the iRacing TSRC machine. James Stone Radford taking 8th there for the Dogs. The best part was 6 seconds behind our 7th place finisher, but in turn 15 seconds clear of Philip Moroz, who did well to make his way up to 9th place, given how the race started, and Lenny Hansen held on for wheelchair racing to complete the top 10 by only what was a grand total of 700ths of a second from an absolutely fast charging despite heavy damage to his car from Mr. Apex Motorsports. It was none other than Patrick Gallick. Gallick was the best of the rest ahead of his teammate of Julian Rehrberger, and then we did see Harry Mason, Ian Rankin and Jay Walsh complete the top 15. A lap down, it was Tony Preston, and sadly we did lose Artem Fomin from the race due to damage to the car after an early incident on laps 3 and 4. But what a race, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, a great way to tee us up here for a fantastic evening of racing action. That's what a Hot Hatch Trophy always does. And the great news is, before we do start to get ready for a Rookie Sportscar Cup, we are going to be bringing you some post-round interviews while drives for the Hot Hatch Trophy. We're going to step away for approximately 2 to 3 minutes, but when we come back, we'll be back to some fiery interviews from our Clio Cup drivers. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss them. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was an absolutely incredible race. And as we come back, well, let's kick off those post-race interviews. Starting, of course, with none other than our winner from today, because joining me now in the interview room is none other than Thomas Hill. Thomas, good evening to you. What a race. And at long last, that first win on the board, you must be absolutely chuffed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of lost for words, to be honest. It's been coming for a while. With 2 rounds to go, it's very happy to get that first.
Oh, indeed. Better late than never, as they say. And, of course, you've been in these positions before. You've been close. Snetterton really been a good example of it. But here today, a very strong qualifying lap to start you off. 2nd place in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting to be anywhere near the front row, considering how much testing I've done for this race. But, yeah, I was very happy with that lap. And to get on the front row, to get a bit of an advantage from the far behind was very good.
Now, talking at the start of the race, we did see you be quite what was passive at the start, shall we say, constantly flashing your headlights to Adrian Borowski and taking the race line. Were you trying to tell him, I need you to go race normally, I don't want you defending?
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to push him and fight towards the end to get away from the pack behind. As you saw, there was a massive train for the lead. But, you know, some people don't want to push. It's fine. We'll have the race and the battle. As you saw, it was very good and clean.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, of course, 6 cars all together, and we saw you at first take quite easy, but at what point did you say to yourself, right, I need to go for a lead now, I need to control this pack?
I mean, once Adrian started defending, it was quite clear that the pack behind me was going to catch, and to get put into that and then fighting that would make Adrian just probably drive away from us all. So I knew I needed to go in and just get my head down and just drive it.
Well, you definitely got your head down, taking the lead with quite a daring move, albeit plenty of side-by-side action. And then being the leader, it looked as though you were completely unfazed, no matter how close Adrian got to you.
Yeah, I mean, I used to race in real life in karts, so it's not an unknown thing for me, really. But yeah, to keep my head calm was definitely a big thing for me, to make sure no mistakes happened and keep that lead.
Now, in the end, flawless all the way, and will come the finish line, taking that victory by just about 4 attempts. Your first win's finally on the board, so what does it now mean going into the season finale? Can you end it on a win as well?
Well, hopefully we can. I mean, it's a British track, so I'm a bit more used to them ones. So we'll see what we can do.
Oh, fantastic. We definitely look forward to seeing what you can do in our season finale. And in terms of where you sit in the championship at the moment, of course, chasing a top 5 finish, if not a top 3, do you feel as though the championship has gone the way you've wanted it to so far, or is it a one last gasp at the end?
I mean, it's been a little bit of a struggle. Snetterton was good. The other rounds were a bit poor from me. The last round I got a penalty, so that dropped me down a little bit. It's a little bit of an unfortunate incident between me and Craig. But, you know, to get the points from this round, keep closing that gap, and we'll see what ends up as after the finale.
Oh, fantastic. And well, I think you've got the right attitude, to be fair. Just see what we can do come the finale. But Thomas, as we get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
I'd like to thank my family, my girlfriend, my old Zip team manager for karting, and a massive thank you for 0 Point for all the constant support on the sim.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Thomas, it's been absolutely superb to see you finally take that maiden win you've been chasing for so long this season. We look forward to seeing whether you can do it again at Oran Park. But until then, congratulations and have a fantastic rest of your evening. You deserve it.
Thank you. See you there.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from a very happy Thomas Hill, who absolutely loved that racing, no doubt about it. Battles back and forth rampant throughout the field, but in the end, absolutely ice cold in terms of how he approached it. And saying there straight away, he wanted to work with Adrian Borowski, but when the pole sitter chose not to work with him, he decided, right, gloves are coming off, I need to make this move happen. And did quite early on the races, we did see there in the replay footage, really being quite firm with the move. And after that, just not feeling the pressure and drawing upon his experience of his karting background to know when you've got a whole pack behind you like this, you've got to keep cool. Get them to fight each other, get them to do the hard work, and you've just got to make sure you're still leading. And by doing so, taking that first win. A win that he's been looking for. He's now got it, and he's looking forward to Oran Park, see if he can make it 2 from 2 and end the season on a high. And we wish him all the best luck in his preparations for Oran Park. But ladies and gentlemen, our interviews do not stop there, because we've got at least one more interview to bring you this evening from our Hot Hatch Trophy before we do make our way onwards to the Rookie Sportscar Cup. And well, we're now going to be coming to this man. He is none other than Patrick Gallick, and well, he has coined this as a bit of an interview of shame, if you will, given what happened at the start. But to be fair, let's see if we can cheer him up a little bit with an interview as he now joins me in the interview room. Patrick, good evening to you, and I know you've coined this a little bit of an interview of shame, but to be fair, let's try and also make some positivity come into it. 11th place start, 11th place finish, but not the way you expected it to go today.
No, not really. I mean, I talked about it last week that Oran Park turn 1 and 2 are difficult, and it was not my plan to show it firsthand.
Oh, goodness me. I do love the irony of that, like you say, but still, let's talk a little bit perhaps about qualifying instead. 11th place in the starting order. What happened in qualifying? Because we normally see you pushing towards the top 5.
2 words, bad laps. That's all about it. Laps weren't good, and yeah, it was not the day, simply put.
Oh, that's absolutely fair. Now, of course, it did go a bit wrong in towards turn number 1, and we're not going to dwell on that too much longer. So, talking about the rest of the race, we saw you driving out there, minus a front bumper and a few other essential pieces on the car. I mean, were you just lacking top-end speed, or did it make cornering a lot more difficult?
Oh, good to know. The car felt actually somewhat fine. I knew I had damage, but I was like driving after that incident, and car feels okay-ish. Okay, no pit stop. Good to know that I lost quite a bit of pieces up front.
Oh, indeed. Well, the fact the car was still going absolutely fine all the way it felt was a good sign, and we didn't see you give up, to be fair. You chased after places and picked up a few along the way to the finish, including some good battles with the likes of Harry Mason and your teammate of Julian Rehrberger.
I mean, everything up from lap 4 onward was fine, I would say. Yeah, fine. But then at the end of the race, I was behind, I think it was Leonard, and I was faster, but then I was like, I had this incident in lap 1. No, I can't go like a maniac into it. So, yeah. I think it was really close there at the finish line. Don't know who even finished ahead. I think Leonard was P10. If I ended up in P11, it must have been really, really close. But yeah, all I want to say, sorry for the lap 1 chaos. This one is on me.
Well, to be fair, Patrick, the fact you've put your hand up to it, I'm sure everyone will appreciate it. And well, everyone knows, and I definitely know, that you don't mean it when it goes wrong. It goes wrong when you're racing Clio Cup cars, when you're pushing so hard at the start. Do you want to know how much you missed out on 10th place by?
Tell me. It must have been not a lot.
700ths.
Yeah, quite fitting. Maybe there was the top end, lacking top end speed.
Oh, potentially, but still, what's happened at Oran Park has happened. One more round to go. Oran Park in a week's time. How are you feeling for the trip back to the UK?
Can't get much worse than this today.
Oh, fair play. Well, surely it's got to be a positive end to the season in a week's time. But just before we do let you go, Patrick, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to?
Yeah, the entire Clio SOF community. Hi guys, love you. Sorry for disappointing you. Maybe next time it will be better.
Oh, goodness me. Well, I'm sure they'll appreciate the apology, but no, you're giving it your all. Patrick, it's been great to catch up with you. Sorry it hasn't worked out today, and we hope it goes better at Oran Park. But until then, I hope you can have a better evening, and thank you once again.
Yeah, I have to be sorry, but thank you. Bye-bye.
So here and there from a slightly dejected Patrick Gallick, but to be fair, ladies and gentlemen, the missed Apex Motorsport driver, I'm sure will come back incredibly strong in a week's time at Oran Park and look to end his season with a smile and on a high. It's just been one of those rounds where nothing has clicked together, and of course the irony being, they would mention in his post-round interview from our previous circuit that you need to make sure you don't make a mistake into turns 1 and 2. But make no mistake, he's definitely learned the hard way today. And well, with that, we give you a quick recap of who we've spoken to this evening. Because we've had interviews with Thomas Hill, your race winner, and also from a frustrated and dejected Patrick Gallick. But the Mr. Apex Motorsport driver will be coming back to top form next round, and Thomas Hill will look to try and make it 2 for 2 and see how high he can finish in the championship standings right at the end of the season. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that completes our support race. And well, now we look to our schedule. And whilst we would normally have an extended break, well, we've made sure these interviews got a little bit longer, so there's not too much a lapse in the racing. We'll be back in approximately 3 minutes' time for our main event. And of course, we'll be coming back to the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup. It's round number 4 for their championship, and it will be here at Oran Park Raceway. We'll see you very shortly. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, as quick as that. No more than 3 minutes, and we are now back for our main event. It is time for the penultimate round of the Motorsport UK Esports 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup. Of course, powered by the Sim Racing Collective and supported by the official prize partners of Simagic and Phil. 2 20-minute races here at the Oran Park Raceway. And if the racing from our Clio Cup cars in the support series has been any indicator, we should expect this to be a fiery encounter. But there's one big question. Can Harry Fletcher seal the deal with a round to spare? We'll tell you a little about the permutations and all that very shortly. But as we make our way into their 4th round of the season, let's just give you a quick reminder of what exactly they are competing for when it comes to the prizes. Because, of course, our official prize partners have put together a brilliant array of prizes for our drivers to compete for. And we begin, of course, with the winner's prize. And it is a combination of the Simagic Zeus Sport Wheel, including a Magic Dash, plus a pair of field gloves. Now, the gloves are available for all of our prizes, and they are some of the very best gloves available in the sim racing sphere. Made from materials which are absolutely comfortable to your hands, but also made for long use. So if you're in an endurance race on the simulator or a sprint race, no matter how much you sweat, you'll be getting the most out of the gloves every step of the way, and it really does feel delicate to the touch, and really feels as though it's just you and your hands on the sim steering wheel, when in reality you've got Phil's wonderful gloves there, making and bridging the gap. But meanwhile, when it comes to that Simagic Zeus Sport Wheel, well, let's talk a little bit more about that rim prize, and which has been added to Simagic's lineup on their website. And the Sport is a perfect choice for road, racing, or rally, offering a dual suede and stitched together leather design. First place takes home the Zeus Sport, coupled with Simagic's new Magic Dash, a touchscreen that mounts to the wheel or your wheelbase, and with full support for Sim Hub, you can get key data as a driver whilst you race at a glance, like lap deltas, fuel, all without taking your eyes far from the road. As for our runner-up, it will be a Simagic GT Neo wheel plus a pair of field gloves, and that GT Neo wheel should not be underestimated. It's Simagic's most popular wheel for a reason, because it delivers a pro-level feel racers want, full RGB lighting, thumb encoders, and silent shifters with a double clutch included as standard, all at a price that punches well above its weight. And as for that 3rd place prize, well, the gloves are there once again from Phil, but we do have the Simagic P700 pedals, which I know Jaden Innes is very eager to try and get his hands on, but the problem is he's second in the championship. More on that very shortly. And well, don't overlook these pedals, because they give you pro-level adjustability, well, 150kg load cell brake included as standard, and have easy expandability via Simagic's best-selling haptic reactors, a great feeling for ABS or traction control. These pedals offer fine-tuning you'd expect from rigs costing far much more. But it's not just about our top 3 finishers, of course, because if a driver competes in all 5 rounds of the championship, they are automatically entered into a random raffle draw for what will be a pair of field gloves, and that way it's worth staying around for every round, even if you're not in the top 3 of the championship. And a great set of prizes on offer here for our official prize partners. A huge thank you to them, Simagic and Phil. But ladies and gentlemen, let's give you a quick reminder of the rules before we make our way back to what's qualifying now. And as the drivers get underway, they're 3 laps over 10 minutes. We have 2 20-minute races. The first one, they line up as they qualify. The second one, they line up as they finish with race number 1, but we invert the top 8, which means the winner of race number 1 starts in 8th race number 2. And we continue that inversion down to the 8th place finisher, and they start on pole for race number 2. And those who finished 9th or lower in race number 1, you guessed it right, that's exactly where they start in the 2nd race of the day. Setups are fixed. Everyone has an identical setup on the car. There's one fast repair available should they need it for damage to the car. Alternatively, they may be going to the pit lane if they pick up 15 or more instant points for a drive-through penalty. Hopefully not. And our starts are standing as per usual. But just like that, let's make our way back to circuit side. And as we do, well, let's take a quick look at the standings coming into this round championship-wise. And as we can see, it is Harry Fletcher who leads the way on 247 points for EFR with Rotor Racing, and it's 186 to Jaden Innes behind. And the short summary is, because there are no drop scores in this championship, Harry Fletcher needs to be leading by a minimum of 92 points come the end of this round, presuming that Ben Sieber, the man in 3rd, does not take both wins. Remember, Ben Sieber has managed to take a win. He took the win in race number 2. That absolutely exceptionally crazy start to the race at Oschersleben. Harry Fletcher got caught up in it, but not Ben Sieber. And if Sieber was to win all 4 races, including the 2 today and the 2 at Oran Park, and Fletcher was not able to score more than 92 points, Sieber could in theory take the crown, or if they were tied, it would then come to a tie break based on the next set of finishing positions. And on that basis, we would have to wait and see what would happen. So Fletcher just needs 92 points in today, and for Ben Sieber not to win both races, or if Fletcher wants to get the job done without question, he needs 93 or more points, and he will get this done. done, and we will be keeping you apprised of how he goes as the day of racing goes on. But Ben Sieber sits in third, just behind Jaden is by the best part of 11 points, and it's a sizable 35-point gap back to Connor Spruce, the privateer, who right now knows that he's got some work to do as well, and the challenge for him is going to be to try and make sure they can stay within touch of the top three, because the top three are definitely breaking away. Max Moron sits in fifth there, the Sim UK Esports racing team driver, who's definitely had his highs and also had his lows. But right now he's trying to ride the high of what's been some podium performances in recent rounds, and can he make his way into the top three? Gabriel Dutra, always keep your eyes up for the Brazilian driver at 116 points, 4 ahead of Finley Secker. And then we do have James Rogers ahead of Mark Martin and Kira Boylan. Outside the top 10, Thomas Stephen, the man who's had more bad luck than most. I don't know how many black cats have walked across the circuit before he went onto it, but he's definitely found bad luck this season. He's only 2 points ahead of John Shorter. And then we do have Kurt Fawcett, Richard Revins, and Anton Gabrowski who lead to that top 15. Kelvin Woodhead sits in 16th ahead of Craig McCracken. Then it's Richie Holder ahead of Matthew Shade and Harry North who complete your top 20. And outside that top 20, not to be forgot about, on 0 points alongside North, it's Lee Rootley, Beavis Lau, Lee Barry Allen, and Dave Young. But those are the standings, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, the night is not quite as young as it used to be, as we are in this qualifying session now. And 5 minutes to go, our drivers all started to make their way onto their final flying laps. And right now, well, you guessed who might be on pole, provisionally. It is none other than Harry Fletcher as he makes his way on around. And points available, of course, for every part of the race day, whether it be in qualifying or the race itself. And that's why he wants that pole position. He, of course, has taken every pole position so far this season from qualifying. Last time out at Oschersleben, it was 3/4 of a second. And, well, he wanted to be a second quicker, but he didn't have as much time to practice because he'd come hot off the heels of what was the 24 Hours of Spa on the official iRacing platform. So Fletcher definitely has had a bit more time to practice here today. And, well, right now, in terms of those lap times, it is looking very close between him and Jaden Idis. Idis has definitely pulled out all the stops. He just set his final lap, which is a 15.41, a 15.41, we should say. And right now, Fletcher is 800ths quicker, but this is not the margin that he will be used to. But Fletcher, I think, has been cooking up a special lap here. He's gone purple in the middle sector, and as he makes his way down the start finish straight, crossing the line, and in the end, what he finds a 15.33. So he has got the fastest of everybody, and then he goes a bit faster, in fact, because that is a 15.08 as our timing chart is updated. And Harry Fletcher, that's going to be provisional pole by 3.5 tenths. And to Jaden Innes. Well, Innes won't have any more time to improve, but understanding he'll feel quite confident because this is the closest that Fletcher has been taken in qualifying. Ben Siever makes his way across the line. He improves up to 7th place, but that will bring his qualifying session to a close. Connor Spruce is cooling on down, and well, he's currently set for 9th here unless anybody else improves. We'll have to wait and see what else other drivers can do out there. We do have Thomas Stephen. He's on his final flying lap, and for Thomas Stephen so far, this has got to be the weakest qualifying performance from him all season long. As your number 4 driver makes his way towards the timeline, has not worked out here today, and well, 14th he was, and he goes to 13th there. He does find 3 tenths on that lap. It's a 16.42, but Thomas Stephen there, we normally expect to see him towards the front rows. Down here on the 7th row at the most, that is definitely going against the form for Thomas Stephen. And, well, I wonder whether he's perhaps feeling, given how it's all gone so far this season, where if he started towards the front, it's normally ended up with technical issues or bad luck or a combination of two. Or perhaps he's thinking, if I start further back, no bad luck can strike me and I've got to make my own luck coming through the field. You never know, to be fair. But as Richie Holder makes his way across that timeline, currently the last of our drivers, 17th out there. And, well, so it tells me that's not going to be an improvement. No, it's not. And that is his qualifying session done and dusted as he does cool on down. 50 seconds, the last driver out there on a lap at the moment. And as he makes his way around, he's got plenty of time available to get this lap done. So let's jump on board with him here. And well, let's ride aboard a little bit with our MX-5 driver in the number 6. So he's currently the full fastest as he makes his way over the Yokohama Bridge. As he comes through that right hand and these sweeping bends here, which are going to be a real test of what will be balancing understeer and oversteer in these front engine rear-wheel drive Mazda MX-5 cars. Remember, all the drive work for the engine is going to the rear wheels. The steering is done on the front wheels. So you're constantly in that battle of trying to turn the car into the corner, but don't get the power down too aggressively to make sure the rear stays settled and the front brings you through. But as he makes his way there through the chicane into his Recaro bend at turn number 12, sharp on the brakes there, about 120 metres from corner apex down to second gear, and immediately chucks the car out the corner, practically grazing the exit wall. And what's he going to be here for second as he makes his way to the line? Does he improve? The answer is going to be no. He stays where he is, and he will stay there on 4th place, albeit he does improve his lap time, however, a better opening sector, and that is going to be a 15.52 now he puts up there, but that will be the last laps we will see in this qualifying session, I do believe, unless anybody else out there is working some magic, but so at the moment, at least, nobody's finding any more time, with a minute to go there. It's going to be Harry Fletcher, who does seem to take the pole position. And well, that is going to mean initially, well, there's no point available there, but he will be making a point of starting right at the front. And well, as these drivers make their way through, he'll be joined on that front row by Jaden Iddis, with Max Braun and Finley Secker completing the second row. And well, meanwhile, Kelvin Woodhead taking 5th place. This is best qualifying points of the season. And Woodhead did look very impressive, to be fair, at Oschersleben. His most impressive round so far, as we do look to the scenic view. And Finley Secker toes the pit lane after a bit of an excursion there, getting it wrong. But understandably, Fletcher's looking the quickest, but Kelvin Woodhead started 5th. That's going to be interesting. And John Shorter started 6th as well, further 2 tenths behind. And Shorter finding the pace that we saw right at the start of the season, perhaps, at Snetterton. And we do see Ben Siever starting 7th. He's going to have to get a bit inventive if he wants to make his way forward from there, with Kurt Forsyth, Connor Spruce, and Mark Martin completing your top 10. Don't rule out Mark Martin, who starts from 10th place in the number 22, because we did see what was a very strong performance from Oschersleben, only undermined perhaps by a bit of misfortune coming his way. But as the clock goes to 0 on this qualified session, it's Fletcher's pole position. Now he's just got to do the hard work of converting pole to victory, and as we have seen, it's not easy here at Oran Park as we head to the grid for race number 1. So as all our drivers make the rounds to the grid, this is how they'll line up for the first of our 2 races today. For round number 4 of the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, powered by the Sim Racing Collective and supported by official prize partners of Phil and Simagic. It is Harry Fletcher who takes pole position for EFR with Rotor Racing ahead of Jaden Iddis. The gap, 3.5 tenths. Max Braun starts third there for Sim Esports Racing Team, only a further 400 behind, and Finley Secker starts in 4th alongside for Drive Lounge Racing. Kelvin Woodhead begins the day 5th ahead of John Shorter, with Ben Siever in 7th place of DCW Racing ahead of Kurt Forsyth. And then we do have Connor Spruce and Mark Martin completing your top 10. In 11th, it's James Rogers ahead of Anton Gabrowski. And we will see starting in 13th place, Thomas Stephen ahead of Gabriel Dutra. Kira Boylan starts 15th there for Motorsport Woman ahead of Rev Racing's Richard Revins. And it'll be Richie Holder who completes your 17-car starting order. But as quick as that, the lights are going on, ladies and gentlemen. And for the first time today, it is going 1, 2, 3, 4, fiery lights. And it's lights out and away they go as they roar the way away down towards turn of 1. And well, Harry Fletcher then gets a good start. Jaden Iddis, we got a medium to cut across Max Ron, not happy with his start whatsoever. And as they come down towards the braking zone for the opening corner, well, we can see there Finley Secker also looking for an opportunity. Ben Siever trying to find some space. And as they all come through, it's a good start there from our race leader. But Finley Secker right now immediately up the inside of Jaden Iddis and makes the move stick for second place. A great start for Secker, 2 places gained as everyone is safely through the opening corner. They all were given a bit of a warning coming into today to make sure they maintain racing standards. They are rookies, to be fair, but they did need to clean things up a little bit after what's the difficulty of race to Oschersleben, and well, everyone has heeded the warnings there from the administration stewarding team. And as they make the way over the rise right now, Max Braun there going a bit defensive versus Jaden Iddis, but Finley Secker absolutely storming into that second place and wanting to take on Fletcher. He's definitely here today to try and stop Fletcher from taking that crown if he can help it. But as these drivers roll the way through, Thomas Stephen, a bit of a slow start for him. 1 place gained ahead of what was Gabriel Dutra. And well, Ben Siever, the biggest loser of them all. In fact, Ben Siever's had a technical issue that has forced his car out of the race, unfortunately. As that's going to Anton Gabrowski going wide. And as he does so, Kira Boylan has nowhere to go. Neither does, I believe, Gabriel Dutra. And in the end, they all get caught up together, and one towards stake, and suddenly it completely turns things around. But as they head down towards lap number 2, it is Harry Fletcher who leads ahead of Finley Secker, followed by Max Braun. That's top 3. Oh, who's that going round at the rear of the picture? Trying to see who that is there. I believe that is Richie Holder who's got it wrong. But meanwhile, get it right is Fletcher and Secker, but Finley Secker is really coming on. But where were we? We were making our way through the order. 4th currently is Jaden Iddis as Kelvin Woodhead looks for an opportunity to get involved there. Can't quite do so at the moment. John Shorter as well running through. And then we do see Martin in 7th place and a Kurt Forsyth with Connor Spruce and James Rogers behind. But here comes the eyelash machine of Mark Martin looking up the inside there versus John Shorter, and well, gets his elbows out very quickly. Those eyelashes are lethal on the number 22, and as he makes his way through right now, definitely a model of a car, no doubt about it, as they roar the way over the bridge. But getting ready to go into the second half of the lap this time. Well, let's wait and see what is to be between them all, as we see these drivers working as hard as possible as they can. And it looks like Mark Martin at least definitely getting his head down right now and very eager. He started started 10th. He's up to 6th already. How far can he go here is the big question mark. Can he get himself onto the podium in this race? And if so, I think he'd be very happy of that. Now, we will get a replay of what exactly happened in that instant coming out to turn number 9 in due course. But right now, that is 52nd looking up the inside of Fletcher. And well, for the first time this season, we are really getting to see her try to sink their teeth into Harry Fletcher. And that is not a complaint, to be fair. This is going to be interesting to see because we know Fletcher is very quick, but now he's got a real rival in 52nd. And here comes Max Moron as well. But remember, Fletcher does not need to win this race to become champion. All he needs to do really today is get a good haul of points, and he will take enough to be able to become your champion with a round to spare. But he immediately goes on the comeback there into the inside, but Finley Secker squeezes the door shut there. And right now, Secker doesn't want to give this position up. Understandably, this is a new well to the number 6 driver to be leading in race number 1 of the day. And as they all come through, it's going to be an exciting battle between them. Further back, Connor Spruce as well. He's now getting his head into this as we can see Kurt Fawcett right in front of him. And Fawcett, the Altitude 3M esports driver, I know being coached by the professional esports team. But right now, Connor Spruce, who we ride on board with here, he's definitely keeping close to Fawcett. Both of these drivers have come a long way since the opening round of the season. And that's the wonderful thing about this championship, of course, the fact you will see some drivers. This will be their first ever league they've raced in. And well, come the end of this, they will have gone from being very raw, fresh-faced rookies into, in a way, battle-hardened veterans who found so much pace. Oh, goodness me, as we really lose Connor Spruce to the ether. He comes back. That's internet connectivity on his end, not on yours. You don't need to adjust your TV set there. And as they make the way on through, well, right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you one thing, Connor Spruce definitely jumping the bit as James Rogers is as well, and Thomas Stephen with him. But of course, as all these drivers roll their way out to another lap, we're going on to lap number 4 here. 52nd right now. We're with Harry Fletcher and Max Braun playing patient with him and trying to work together. You can see they're trying to open up a gap to Jaden Innes. They'd like to drop the number 2 driver. But right now, Innes has got his own aspirations here. He'd like to try and stay as close as he possibly can. Won't be easy. As you can see, a little bit of dust there being picked up under braking by a lot of drivers. That's dust that's been blown over by the wind. Oh, and John Short has got around. That's not the wind. Unfortunately, that's the 220 car. Oh, goodness me. And that's going to be none other than, I believe, what is a slam of the brakes of Richard Revins to help let John Short to get himself turned around. A very awkward situation there. Shorter even had to put the car in reverse or trying to get it spun around. And unfortunately, Shorter has a lot of damage to the front of the car as Ben Seamer glides up the inside of him, trying to unlap himself, the DCW Racing driver. They got the car repaired, and John Shorter with the damage is not carried on. I suspect that's going to be a tow to the pit. So John Shorter's race has gone very wrong, and I know there's a few John Shorter fans there. I think there's going to be a collective sigh of what will be disappointment there. Not in the driver, but in the fact his race has been curtailed a little bit early on, but we will get a replay to explain what exactly he was doing there in short order. But meanwhile, 52nd carries on here, and the opening 5 minutes of this race complete. We've still got 3/4 to go. There's a lot of distance in this one, and well, as we saw with the Clio Cup cars, and we see with the MX-5s so far this season, over 20 minutes, your tyres, you need to make them last. They do not last the full 20 minutes just at full pelt. They will last 100% usage. The best part of what is about 10 to 12 minutes of the race, you need to protect them a little bit if you want to see this race through to the end with a comfortable set of rubber on your heels. But meanwhile, as we do see Thomas Stevens still attacking Connor Spruce. Well, right now this top 9 definitely started to split a little bit, and Kelvin Woodhead finds himself clearing away, as meanwhile Mark Martin making the mother of all ham sandwiches there, coming out of turn number 2, going very deep out the corner. And well, as we can see there, that's going to be Kurt Fawcett looking around the outside. That's not going to work. It brings Connor Spruce into the fray, and Spruce then backs out there 9. There's a bigger prize at stake rather than just simply taking 7th place. He wants that stiff off of Martin, and therefore does not fight it too hard. So these drivers right now already racing with their heads just as much as they're racing with the throttle pedal. And as they make their way towards the end of this lap, we take a look back at the race start. So this was how our race started, as we did go green flag racing. Well, it was a good start from everybody on the grid, to be fair. Everyone pretty much launching equally this time. We've seen a few slow starters this season, and a few fast starters, and a couple of jump starters. But everyone got away absolutely smoothly as they made the way down. But as they did, well, 52nd, of course, playing patient as he battled with Max Braun in towards turn 1. Everyone there coming through the opening corners, absolutely safe and sound. It was lovely to see all 17 cars there making it safely through the opening bed. A lot of drivers were nervous about turns 1 and 2, given how changed now with the sweepers. But understandably, everyone made it through. But then it all went a bit wrong towards the end of lap number 1. And this is what happened to Kira Boylan. As she made her way out to the corner, found Anton Gabrowski had lost the rear of the car. And at that point, Boylan had nowhere to go, and neither did Gabriel Dutra. This is what it looked like from on board. Now, bear in mind, they are on a loaded corner at this point. So the car has transitioned all the way to the right. Well, suddenly Kira Boylan finds out that Anton Gabrowski's lost it, and Gabriel Dutra just comes into the scene of the instant with no visibility. But how exactly did Anton Gabrowski get it wrong in the first place, I hear you ask? Well, the idea is that the car snapped on him there, hit the curb a bit too much, went to the gravel trap as he tried to straighten it out through through power. Unfortunately, the car could not be straightened, but in that situation, it's a very unfortunate instant between all of them. We then did have, of course, Ben Sieber towed to the pit lane, and on lap number 4, we had this for John Shorter as he made his way in towards the opening corner. And going through into Coca-Cola bend at turn number 2, touched the grass briefly. The rear of the car started to let go as a result of that grass touch. Well reacted there from so many drivers. They all did well. And unfortunately for John, as he goes to get the car moving, finds Growski. And, well, looks like there might have been a bit of netcode contact where essentially the cars have made contact, not on our screen, but based on how the server that hosts this race registers them. Because Shorter looked okay, and then Sunny, and much like, say, the Herbie machines of the older movies, the car all falling apart. And unfortunately for John, his race sent to the pit lane. But with that, we come back to your live racing. And as we do, we'll bear with some brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, and we do come back to your live racing now. There we go. Slight technical hitch, but don't you worry about that. Right now, Finley Secker finds himself under a bit of pressure there, the Drive Lunge Racing driver, as Harry Fletcher and Max Moron right there with him. But as they roar the way through the 90-degree right, Moron now attacking Fletcher. But I wonder if it is the situation whereby Harry Fletcher's perhaps thinking to himself, I don't need to win to become champion. Finishing on the podium would be more than enough to give me a very good run into race number 2. But Max Moron there gets his elbows out for a brief moment. They're still too wide as they make the way down in towards turn number 9. And as they come on through there, well, Harry Fletcher's not going to back out. Neither is Max Moron at this point. Great side-by-side racing between these two. And right now, a little bit of touch between the two of them. A little bit of contact there, but both drivers right now fighting for a space. They're both trying to fight for the same space. And well, in the end, Max Moron does get a move done. But it's not over yet as Fletcher looks up the inside, but gets cut off there at those. And well, Fletcher trying to go for a space, thinking that Moron was going to understeer wide. And that's one of those moves that Harry Fletcher was trying to make there, whereby if it works out, it looks epic. However, you've either got to back out when it's about to go wrong. Alternatively, you make contact and say the stewards won't look favourably at it. He saw a space, it was closing, and therefore he decided to back off. And Harry Fletcher really being smart with his driving. And Kelvin Woodhead watching behind. The number 29 driver, well, he's been in this situation only one other time this season. That was in race number 2 at Oschersleben. And right now, the British driver looking to see if he can get himself on that podium. As he comes charge on through, we say hello to a few of you there in the YouTube chat. We take a quick look over into the Motorsport UK Esports chat in particular. We do see none other than Jakub Lusnak, who's cheering on John Shorter. We also do say hello to Jack Rowley, who asked the question, Max run over 1,850 iRacing. Now, we should clarify, the rules do state that the drivers have to have an I rating of less than 1,850 before the season starts. However, after that, they are permitted to up their I rating because, of course, these drivers will naturally practice using the iRacing official events where you will gain I rating if you do well. So that's why you will see some drivers here. They have seen their I ratings go up over the course of the season, but they are still part of the rookie series. That's Dom Stephen right now looking to go on the attack. And as he does so, we also do say hello there to Olka9290, another John Shorter fan there, saying, come on, John, you've got this with the flames burning. Unfortunately, he's not quite got this one, but we'll hopefully see him back in race number 2, having a better one, as we do see some upset faces there with regards to John Shorter as well. Let's go to see somebody in there. Also, we've got a Connor Spruce fan in the form of Vinty D, and also Matreus there cheering on Fletcher, Harry Fletcher. So I think I've said hello to everyone there. If I missed you, I do apologise. We'll try and catch you a little bit later on. But either way, hope you're all doing well and enjoying this classic racing action right now. Speaking of which, well, Harry Fletcher has found his way back ahead of Max Moron, and well, just made that move happen. But how did he get it happen? Well, here's a quick explanation as to what exactly he was able to do. And this was Fletcher making his way down towards turn 1. The EFR rotor racing driver looking up the inside. Well, Max Moron in the end stayed as wide as possible. Fletcher went for that tight line. And well, both drivers there giving themselves plenty of space to work with. And I get the feeling that Max right now is taking the approach, which is if I can't beat Harry, why don't I just sit behind him as we come back to your live racing right on the dashboard of your number 89 driver. And I think this is really some of the smartest racing we're seeing from these drivers all season long. And to be fair, we've seen some absolutely epic racing. But right now, the way that Max Moron is driving. The same for Harry Fletcher as well. They are driving with their heads first and foremost, knowing that if they keep fighting, Finley Secker is going to run away with this race. And that's the last thing they want to have happen. But so make the way down the start for the straight. 8.5 minutes to go here in race number 1 of the day. And right now, it's Max Moron who is looking for a move on Harry Fletcher. But perhaps Fletcher's going to have a resurgence here and take back that lead. And of course, if he takes back the lead, he gets some more points to the board and make that championship crown creep a little bit closer. Meanwhile, Mark Martin finds himself battling again with Kurt Forsey. He found his way past earlier on, albeit his eyelashes were definitely distracting when he did that elbows out move into turn number 3, but it was a great move to be fair, and I don't think Kurt Forsey could complain at it, but the 113 driver now wants that 6th place back if he can take it, and Connor Spruce staying right there with him as they come in towards the right-hander of turn number 3, and as they do a bit further back, James Rogers as well. Well, this race definitely hasn't worked out the way he's expected it to for the 42 driver. But right now, attacking Gabriel Dutra, who's going to make a mistake there under braking. The car just wobbling a little bit, but Rogers on the tight exit line there will lose his own momentum, and John Shorter behind. So if you're a John Shorter fan, he could get involved in this, but Gabriel Dutra right now gets his elbows out there and says to James Rogers, no, we're not going to let that happen too soon. And then Rogers goes a little bit wide, and Dutra comes over to the racing line now. Really respectful racing between the pair, and suddenly what was a pair now becomes a menage a trois. As we can see there, John Shorter closed up, but understandably, John Shorter is a lap down. So therefore, if he's going to attack, he's got to unlap himself. And, well, the whole game plan there will be he's got to pass both these drivers and then gain a second on them within a lap. That will be considered unlapping yourself safely, albeit I think both drivers won't take too kindly to it should he try to do it. So I think John might be stuck there for a long ride right now between the pair who are battling. A bit frustrated about that, but sometimes that's the way the chips fall on the race circuit. Meanwhile, we come back up to Mark Martin. And as he rolls his way through the open bend, well, right now here comes Kurt Fawcett looking for a move, but Fawcett, as much as he gets close on that inside line, the confidence isn't there to try and lunge it up the inside. But I think from that far back would be just that little bit too risky. And therefore playing the smarter game, which is just wait and try to put the pressure on his Hungarian rival. But again, putting the pressure on is one thing, and whether Mark Martin responds to it is another. And Mark has proven to be one of those drivers this season who normally is very good under pressure. He has this ability to withstand it, and it normally actually makes him go a little bit quicker, but in a consistent way. Back to the front we go, and well, remember what we said earlier on, that Finley Secker may be making an early break, but Harry Fletcher may be coming back at him. Well, here's the proof of the pudding, because right now that gap is back down to 3 attempts here. Fletcher right now having some fun as he makes his way for Recaro, but can Secker now withstand the pressure that he put on Fletcher earlier? But now that pressure is being put to him. Well, 6 minutes to go, a grand total of another 5 laps of racing, and here comes Fletcher looking for the move on the inside. Secker comes across little by little, they're gradually squeezing each other to the inside. As then Secker opens up the door, Fletcher can't do so, it unstabilises the car, and into the braking zone they go, touch the rear there of Fletcher's car, but Harry Fletcher moves back into lead, but now the slipstream is on the other foot. It goes to Finley Secker at this point, and what does Fletcher do at this point in terms of defending? Does he simply dig in for EFR with Road to Racing, or does he instead opt to let the play swap back and forth here? Max Rod still watching, Jaden Innes being brought back in as well. Suddenly, what was a battling pair becomes a battling quartet. And well, you can understand if Max Rod and Jaden Innes will not want to be wanting to get involved in this too much. And instead what they want to do is just follow it as close as they possibly can for now and see what happens right at the end of the race. Kelvin Woodhead, he's been dropped to 2 seconds back. And right now the slipstream gap is growing. And remember, as soon as you get within two seconds, the toe starts to build. But as soon as you go outside of 2 seconds, the slipstream is negligible. So for Kelvin Woodhead, he's almost been dropped. And in fact, he runs a bit wide there coming through turn number 9. Woodhead has now been dropped to 2.8 seconds. He may have to settle for a lonely 5th place with 9 seconds between him and Mark Martin, who's still being followed by Kurt Fawcett and Connor Spruce, albeit Martin making his own break here as Kurt Fawcett having to look more rearward rather than forward. But forward we go to the front of the field, and here comes Finley Secker. Now he's going to go up the inside as they make their way into the dusty line. You can see the dust coming off of the cars, and as they make their way in towards turn of 1, Fletcher on the outside, Secker all in, Fletcher lets it go there, looking back to the inside, trying to see where he can go for a bit of a switchback, and he's going to get it here as they come through. Secker overcooks it into the braking zone of Coca-Cola, now in towards turn number 3. 2 wide they go. Secker on the inside, left of your pitch. Fletcher on the right of the pitch in the West Ham liveried machine. And that's the West Ham Football Club of London. And we're coming out the corner there. No way through for Fletcher. He's made to wait as Max Ron now thinks, can I get involved a little bit? As you ride aboard with your 3rd place driver. And well, Max has definitely been playing it smart. He's been waiting. Oh, there's been a contact to the back of Fletcher's car. And Fletcher does just about catch it. And well, the AFR Road to Racing driver avoiding a huge scare there. And well, that could have been far, far worse. That could have gone to the tyre barrier. And I think there, what it might have been, not 100% certain, I do wonder whether Fletcher perhaps had just missed a shift. And Max Ron there in the rate of closure taps him on the rear. There was definitely no malice meant there, but Harry Fletcher showed his skill behind the wheel. I want to tell you one thing, if he can catch a car like that, he may well consider going play cricket at some point, because he'd be great as a fielder. If he can catch a car, he can catch a ball. But as he brings that back together, well, 4th place right now, but don't count him out. He's still got 3 laps to go, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be back with those leaders right at the very end. It may be 2 laps to go, to be fair. We are looking very tight to whether we're going to get 3 or 2 laps left. James Rogers, meanwhile, he's still hold off Gabriel Dutra, and we can see that these 2 drivers We're absolutely pushing each other to the limit. But right now, Gabriel Dutra there looking around the outside, but runs a little bit too wide. And well, meanwhile, John Shorter just watched on having to be patient. But as he tries head onwards, well, right now, patience paid off. As meanwhile, Kurt Fawcett goes all in on the inside of Mark Martin, and Martin just simply swaps it back. And well, the switchback works out for Martin there. And meanwhile, Kurt Fawcett tucks back in behind. Connor Spruce still watching at a distance here. I think he's got the popcorn seat view as Connor Spruce, but he'll want to be closer than that if he wants to try and make something out of it. But as we come back to the front of the field, and just a reminder, any incidents that happen between drives, they will be investigated after the round. They don't get investigated live. We don't have a live stewarding team, but there will be investigations after the race is complete. But right now, with 2.5 minutes left to go, I'm looking at my content booth window. I haven't got the white flag ready just as of yet. But Finley Secker right now in the lead. Max Bron's 6 tenths behind. Jaden Innes there with him. And right now, Jaden Innes has been playing a very patient game. Here they come, and as they do, well, on lap 14 will go to 15, as that's Max Rod taking a bit of a brush with the barrier there, a bit too harshly. 2 laps remain as they head down, and as they all make the way onto the penultimate lap of this race, well, it's Secker ahead of Moran, followed by Innes. The gap, 1.1 seconds between the lead and 3. Harry Fletcher right now, 1.5 seconds behind. The EFL Rotor Racing driver, not done yet, understandably. And in terms of who owns the fastest lap at the moment, well, that is in the hands of Harry Fletcher, so he'll be getting the bonus point for that should it stand, if nobody else is able to find some time right towards the end. And we'll have to wait and see where the finishing positions go, as Gabriel Dutra looking for a counter-attack here versus James Rogers, trying to take the place back that was taken from him much earlier on. But right now, the Brazilian driver still, as much as he can get on the inside, he can't quite outrun Rogers. But here comes John Shorter, and I think Shorter at this point has decided, well, if you're going to keep fighting, I may as well make it 3 wide. And I think that's a bit crafty there from John. He backs out immediately, but Dutra's definitely spooked by it, and Rogers in the end is going to be spooked even more. Goes wide, gets the brakes on, and just about stops the car. And Gabriel Dutra in the end, he's going to be saying afterwards, cheers, John, you've actually helped me just make a move. As he moves up into 11th place as our 24 driver. And well, I think for James Rogers, he's going to be asking himself what exactly happened there. The answer is, well, John Shorter may have made that 3 wide for a brief moment. He calls Dutra to come a bit wider over. And in the end, James Rogers on a very wide line there, trying to carry more speed than the car could handle. But as Finley Secker heads down the start finish straight here, onto last lap we go. They roar the way through, and look into the inside, it's Max Moran. And right now, can the Polish driver find a way past the Brit? And Jaden Innes watches half a second behind. Finley Secker squeeze him as much as possible. Moran's still there as they come into the opening braking zone. Hard at the anchors they go. Second defending as much as possible. But here comes Jaden Innes looking for a move, but he swaps it to the inside. Then it'll be the outside towards turn number 3. And right now, Jaden Innes, not enough momentum there to try and make this count. So your top 3 still bruising and battling each other every moment of this lap, all the way to the end. But Finley Secker, he's been here before. He knows exactly how to defend versus these two. He's fought with them more than any other driver this season. And as the Drive Lounge Racing driver makes his way over the bridge and makes his way back to us, well, right now, can he hold on here for his first win of the season? Will it be a first win of the season for Max Rod, or will it be for Innes? Well, all of them will be happy to be on the podium, but only one of them can be on the top step. Your championship leader, Harry Fletcher, seems settled for 4th here, and if so, well, to be fair to him, it's going to be a huge haul of points. He would be bringing home a grand total of 31 points in this race, and well, as he makes his way through the corners right now, all he needs to do in this one is bring on home at 31 points, and he will be your provisional champion. So as they make the way out of the final corner, well, right now for Finley Secker, it's a drag race to line. The checker flag awaits him, and Finley Secker is going to take his maiden win of the season. Max Rod will take 2nd place, Jaden Innes will complete the podium, and then Harry Fletcher will come in 4th place, and that may be enough. We'll confirm very shortly. Kelvin Woodhead comes on through for a season best 5th place finish. Then it'll be Mark Martin coming on through for 6th, a lonely finish, but a happy one for him, with Connor Spruce right behind. Where's Kurt Fawcett, I hear you ask? We're not quite sure. Thomas Stephen comes on through shortly to take on home what will be 8th place, and then we have Richard Revens coming on with 9th ahead of Kurt Fawcett, who in the end, the two of them separated by Ben Seabury finishes a lap down in 14th place. Then we've got Gabriel Dutra coming to line, and he'll bring with him James Rogers, who he passed towards the end, and also John Shorter. And then we've got a bit of time before Richie Holder comes on through, and that gives us an opportunity to quickly take a look at what happened to Kurt Fawcett. And this was Fawcett chasing after Mark Martin right towards the end, making his way up the hill into Rosacaro Bend. And as he did so, a small touch between the two of them. I'm not sure how we call that one, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's a racing incident or not. The stewards will definitely have more camera angles than that, but that explains what happened to Kurt Fawcett. But meanwhile, we do still have Kira Boylan to get to her finish line, albeit a lap down, but give her a round of applause. Give them all a round of applause to see the finish. And will Richie Holder be your last lead lap finish there in 13th place? what a race, no doubt about it. But for Finley Secker, a maiden win. And well, he's wanted a big result today, and he's got it as we look to your scenic pictures. And as we do, well, we do have a 5-minute warm-up now before we do go racing for the second and final time here in our penultimate round of the season at the Oran Park Raceway. And as our drivers all get ready to go once again, well, let's take a look at those results subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here they are. And after a fast, a frantic, and a furious what was race number 1 a day, Finley Secker taking his maiden win of the season in race number 7 of the championship, and the Drive Lunge Racing Drive taking it by just shy of 1.5 tenths ahead of SimIT Esports Racing Team's Max Bron taking another second place. Jaden Innes third there, back on the podium once again. The Canadian will be very pleased with that result, and some big points have come home to him. With Harry Fletcher fourth there for EFR Rotor Racing. Of course, a bit of a contentious moment, which did see him slip to fourth place with that tap from the rear for Max Baron. That will most likely be investigated after the racing is complete, but something tells me that may be considered to be a bit of a racing incident, or it might be a warning to Max Baron for that at most. But again, that's up to the stewards. We're not going to influence them. That's just our opinions here in the commentary booth. Kelvin Woodhead fifth there, and a great result there for the British driver. That has not gone under the radar. The fact he's finally brought home that top 5 that he's been chasing so long this season. And Mark Martin sixth place there, albeit of a bit of late contact between himself and Kurt Fawcett, and a bit of a question mark over what will happen when the stewards take a look at that. Connor Spruce, 7th there, ahead of Thomas Stephen, who completed your top 8, and Thomas Stephen will take pole position for our final race a day, and then line up where they finish from this point onwards. Richard Renz in 9th place there for Rev Racing, another top 10 just coming his way by a grand total of what was 6 tenths to Kurt Fawcett for Altitude FM Esports, and then Gabriel Ducha, best dressed in 11th place ahead of James Rogers, with Richie Holder 13th ahead of Ben Sieber, who was a lap down. The DCW Racing Drive had technical issues with the car, was forced to tow to the pit lane, but made his way back out. John Shorter as well, a lap down there, that huge amount of damage to the car after that contact with Anton Gabrowski, and Kira Boylan splitting the two in 16th, and sadly for Anton Gabrowski, a non-finish for him. But of course, we've got one more race to come, ladies and gentlemen. That was your first 20-minute race, and coming up shortly will be the top 8 inverted 20-minute race. The feature, if you will, here at the Oran Park Raceway. The circuit no longer present in the world, but preserved on the iRacing simulator platform, and the circuit that was retired for racing with its final ever race being in January of 2010, and now home to a housing estate as part of the suburbs of Sydney, one of the major cities, of course, of Australia. But as the drivers make the way through, and what is this practice session for themselves, this warm-up session, to give you an update with regards to the standings as we emerge out the other side of our first race. Now, we've done the mathematics, and for Harry Fletcher, if he scores 32 or more points in this round, he is guaranteed to be champion. And indeed, it has been a grand total of 31 points he's earned because he took the 4th place in the race, plus also a point for fastest lap as we understand it. However, what you should also point out is the fact that if he does score 31 points in this round, and in the same vein, Ben Sieber does not take both wins, then that would also mean provisionally Harry Fletcher will be your champion. So, it means Harry Fletcher, right now, is your provisional champion with 3 races to spare, because he has scored 31 points, and therefore he cannot be called to this point. If he scored 0 points at this point onwards and all 31 points stand, and it went to count back, he would have wins in his favour. But of course, Ben Sieber not taking that win, that is the critical difference. So that's how we've calculated it, but we're not going to sing his praise until we see the checker flag of this second race. And again, they are provisional praises, and it does not rule out the fact we still have a wide open battle for second place in the championship between what will be none other than Ben Sieber, also Jaden Innes, Max Ron, just named 3 drives all in that hunt. And for Harry Fletcher at this point, well, now understandably, he may almost be king, but how big a crown could he wear for the rest of the season based on those provisional points? That is the big question. But as he makes his way onwards, well, meanwhile, we can definitely see what is a few of you there talking about all the racing going on. And, well, Carbis there, a bit shocked of the story of Oran Park. And indeed, Carbis, that's the truth as I understand it. The fact the circuit that was opened 64 years before 2010. So you go all the way back there, if my mental mathematics in my head works out today. You'd be going back to what would be 1946, I want to say. Is that right on the maths? No, 1956, I want to say that. No, it would be 1946 because it lasted 64 years. Yep, it has been a long day here at the Continental Move, and it's getting warm. Opened in 1946, became a formal circuit, I believe, in the early 1950s from my bridge history. And, well, it was demolished, the circuit, in February of 2010 to make way for a set of suburbs or a set of houses in the suburban area of Sydney known as Narellan. And, understandably, it's a circuit that's much missed. The home of Australian Touring Car did host 2 instances of Formula 1 back in the F5000 era Formula 1, and also host a World Superbike. We're now, of course, hosted at none other than Phillip Island, although there are question marks about that. But there's no question about one thing, ladies and gentlemen, as we make way to the scenic view. It is that we've got another race to come. And here we go then for race number 2. And as our drivers make the way onto the grid for the second and final race here today at the Oran Park Raceway, this is how they line up with the top 8 inversion. Thomas Stephen takes his maiden pole position in race number 2, joined on the front row by Connor Spruce. Behind the 2 privateers, it's privateers of Mark Martin and Kelvin Woodhead. Harry Fletcher, your provisional effective champion, assuming he scores some points out of this race. The EFR Rotor Racing driver starts 5th ahead of Jaden Innes. Max Moron and Finley Secker start in 7th and 8th. And then we do have, as they finished race number 1, Richard Revins ahead of Kurt Fawcett. On row number 6, we'll see the pairing there of Gabriel Dutra and James Rogers just outside the top 10. And then starting in 13th, it's Richie Holder ahead of Ben Sieber, with John Shorter and Kira Boylan completing up the final full row of the grid. Row number 8, that's 15th and 16th for them. And then Tone Gorowski starting from the rear of the field. He will complete your 17 starting car order. But as they all get ready to go once again, an absolutely exciting race number, no doubt about it. It was a 4-way fight for the win. That in the end, of course, there was a little bit of a rub, but it did go the way of Finley Secker. And can he potentially come on through to make it 2 from 2? Or will we see our what would be our 4th driver to take to the top step this season? We have had what is a grand total of 5 wins for none other than Fletcher. We've had what is a single win for Sieber. We've now had a single win for what is Secker. Will we see a new name up there? Well, we've not got long to go. This gridding process right now is taking the full part of 2 minutes. Gives the world drivers an opportunity to make sure they're all set and comfortable with the cars. And, well, we reckon keep your eyes on Mark Martin. Looks very quick towards the end of the race, even if there was a bit of a question mark on the end of his race for that contact with Kurt Fawcett. But definitely he's got some pace in the car. And also for Thomas Stephen, this is the second time this season he finds himself with no cars technically in front of him in terms of where he starts to the grid. Can he, unlike at Stetson, finally bring this home and bring home a landmark result? Well, for that and more, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, because the clock for the gridding procedure comes to 0, and as it does so, here come the lights. And for the final time today, it is going to be a grand total of 5 lights. And out they go, and away we go for the second time today as Thomas Stephen gets a good start. But Connor Spruce alongside him has an even quicker start by comparison. Mark Martin tries to get between the 2 of them, but it's not going to work out as the door shuts. But you can see that Harry Fletcher immediately covered off the inside there versus Jaden Innes as they all barrel their way towards turn number 1. The field comes on through. Ben Sieber there fights up the inside, taking on James Rogers and Richie Holder, successfully doing a double pass there as they all queue their way in towards Coca-Cola Bend. And as they come on through, well, 2 by 2, many of our drivers go. But your race leader there, Thomas Stephen, right now holding his ground as Connor Spruce gets very close. And a bit of contact there that opens up the doorway for Mark Martin. And Martin is in to lead. Smart opportunism there for the Hungarian driver. And well, a bit of contact from Spruce to Stephen, just upset the balance of Stephen's car. And as they make the way out to turn number 4, well, Fletcher right now on a mission as Finley second, Jaden is square off behind him. Well, it's going to be second on the inside versus the Canadian driver. He'll take that place very quickly. And Jaden is falls down to 8th place. But as they all now go line astern, you can't really go too wide at this point as you're both willing to back off entirely. And we can expect plenty more fighters. John Shorter, remember, he's got to try and find his way through the field as there's Tone Gorowski in the Big Lips Pink machine. And as they roll the way in towards turn number 9 right now, these two definitely keep an eye out for John. He definitely showed he had top 10 pace in race number 1 despite being a lap down. And I suspect this one right now he's going to try and absolutely force his pace on the field as he goes up the inside there. And that's a good move on Tone Gorowski. Gorowski not having anywhere to go other than to let the place go there through the chicane. And right now John Shorter not afraid. But after 1 lap, it is Mark Martin ahead of Thomas Stephen. Then we've got Connor Spruce in 3rd ahead of Max Baron. Then it's Kelvin Woodhead completing the top 5. Harry Fletcher in 6th. Finley second in 7th. Jaden Innes in 8th. They all run now in a line. Meanwhile, that's Kurt Fawcett being attacked by Ben Sieber as John Shorter making more progress. Richie Holder Holder, unfortunately, has had to come into the pit lane, I believe, with damage to the car. I'm not quite sure where Richie Holder is. We haven't got cameras on him at the moment, but we will try and find out what happened to him. But Richie Holder, I think, has had a moment of a barrier, potentially at Recaro Bend, and that's put his race in the pit lane. Sadly, as meanwhile, Max Ron goes all in, and well, takes all the curb and plenty more there. Being a bit inventive going up onto two wheels, and will Connor Spruce, I think, given the space unwillingly at the end, and thinking, well, there's no space there for it, and Max Ron saying, yes, there is space, you've just got to believe there's some space there. As we got Kelvin Woodhead now watches this, but this means your top two are starting to pull away a little bit, as Ron now will try to compose himself, and indeed compose this field. As they come through the corners, we do say hello there to Schweppy in the Sim Racing Collective YouTube chat. And, well, he's enjoying the commentary. And thank you, good sir, as me. Whoa. Oh, what's that? That is Thomas Stephen going very slowly. What's happened to Thomas Stephen? I don't believe it. The man just cannot get a break. And as he makes out the corner right now, well, we'll have to try and get a replay because he's suddenly drops all the way from being towards the front down towards 7th place. If I had to guess, he's probably been elbowed out a little bit and made a mistake over returns 10 and 11. He's had to back off the throttle entirely to control the car. But meanwhile, not backing out right now is Kelvin Woodhead here as he tries to hold off Connor Spruce, and will Spruce on his inside. Spruce really cuts in the open in apex, and when he gets it together, as Harry Fletcher comes barreling in on the inside, and when the end, a bit of elbows out there. 52nd makes it 3 wide. Surely they're not going to go 3 wide this early on. Car out in the rear of the picture. That's Kurt Fawcett who's gone for a spin, but right now we stay transfixed to the barrier. Second swaps back to the inside, contact with Woodhead, and Fletcher tries to go around the outside, and there's contact between the two of them, and for Harry Fletcher will race number 2 like Oshers Lehman. Right now getting caught up in an instant, not his fault necessarily, but the damage has been done to his car. He's dropped to 9th place here. Now, does he just carry on at this point and just make sure he banks the points? I'm sure he's done the mathematics coming into this round and knows all he needs to do is get 32 points or more from this round. He's got 31 already provisionally, and it will be a job done. But right now, Harry Fletcher, I don't think he's done as he gets caught on the side of the car there of, I believe, that's going to be none other than Richard Revins. Revins carries on, and Harry Fletcher does go spinning around. And Fletcher right now, understandably, I think frustration a bit palpable there for our provisional championship leader. And, well, right now he's just got to try and get his head down and carry on here. Doesn't need to risk anything. But meanwhile, John Shorter continues to ascend, just passing James Rogers now for 11th place. Shorter on a mission. He's making his way up the order, and as all these drivers make their way down the straight right now, well, I understand there's a long way to go in this race, and everybody's definitely going to be finding out very soon. As hard as they want to push early on, well, certainly the tyres are going to come back communicating to them at the end of the race that right now they have been overworked. So that's the problem that our drivers will have to deal with, the fact they don't want to push too hard for too long. But as it's getting a bit clumsy out there, it says Rich down to 0, and indeed, to be fair, I think some drivers, they're just getting their elbows out a little bit in the Australian heat. Well, meanwhile, Connor Spruce makes way out the inside. Of course, all of our rookie drivers here, well, they'll always be given advice. They are involved in any instance. Our stewards don't just tell them the penalties they get, but also give them advice as to what they can do better. And, well, it's not just simple logic as don't make contact. It's always breaking down as to why they've been considered to have done something wrong and what they can do to work around the issue. And that's how the rookies go from being rookies to amateurs to one day potentially becoming future pros in the sim racing scene. But as Ben see, we're right now definitely looking to move forward. Racing for a team, DCW Racing, that was formed the best part of, I believe, I want to say 6 years ago in the COVID lockdown era, and it was originally a group of friends that has now evolved into a huge friend group all the way over the United Kingdom, and they do regularly meet up on an annual basis. Well, right now the number 26 driver here definitely looking to try and do his friends at the DCW team proud, and he's come all the way through from 14th to 6th so far, and we know Seaver's got podium pace. He's picked up a couple of podiums this season and a win as well. But right now, how far can he go in this one, given the fact he's making haste, and with it, he could be getting some more points in the bag. Well, further behind, Thomas Stephen, after getting the car back together, sits in a bit of an isolated 7th place at the moment. But the big question is, what exactly happened to him? And indeed, we've had a few big incidents in this race, and therefore, what we're going to do, we're going to make a bit of a trip back in time, but not before we find out what's happened to Jaden Innes there, and he's had a bit of a moment coming through turn number 2, and in fact, Steve was now in a 5th place. Innes going wide, we believe, at turn number 2 there, and losing out. So Innes making an error, and indeed, a few drivers making errors now. As we also do have John Shorter into the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Shorter's race, but we can fit in all those questions as more as we do go back in time. So we begin with what happened to Richie Holder. This was going on to lap number 2, and the car was already in pieces there. The front end of it in a lot of damage, and well, I had to park the car up just like that. So we don't quite know what's happened to Richie Holder, other than I suspect he's hit the barrier coming out of Recaro corner, and that's led to the damage. And then we had this for Anton Gabrovski. It was only a little bit later on, coming out to turn number 3, went wide to the grass, and as he did so, went to turn number 4, went onto the brakes, and the rear of the car snapped one way. He tried to counter-steer it and overcorrected it in the end, but carried on afterwards. We then did have a bit of a moment for Thomas Stephen, And this was Thomas Stephen at the time, chasing after Mark Martin. This was for the lead of the race. And this is where Stevens made an error of some description. And he went very wide there coming out to turn number 9. That explains it. That explains why he had to give up so much time. That would have been considered off track. And it would have been a track limits violation where he would have to give him time back. And by the time he rejoined, was absolutely swarmed there by a number of MX-5s, which you'd think was like a pack of bees. But as he got himself back up to speed, we had this for Kurt Fawcett on lap number 3. And this was Fawcett battling at the time with Richard Revins as he made his way into that braking zone. The F33L Esports driver attacking. Into the corner he went, came in a bit too hot, and I think downshifted prematurely and spun the rear wheels up there as he went from 3rd to 2nd. So it went round for him, and then a bit later on the same lap, we had this free wide between Woodhead, Fletcher, and also Secker. Secker in the middle. We'll swap to the inside here. So as Secker went all in, a bit of a tap there to the rear right quarter of Woodhead, and Harry Fletcher tried to go around the outside, but unfortunately when you're in that situation, you're going to be collected, and Kelvin Woodhead, well, the biggest loser out of all that, understandably. But it wasn't over for Kurt Fawcett's misery on lap number 3. The car had gone for a spin at turn number 3, and this is where we do see the final bit of footage. And I think in the end, as he made his way through the corner, deciding to park the car because it had some damage to it. But with that, we also did see this for John Shorter. And this was Shorter make his way through. And the Pro Team right now made his way through turn 1 into 2. Carried on a bit too much speed. He tried to get it stopped. And unfortunately for John Shorter, to the barrier went. This won't look like on board from Shorter's perspective. And as he's carried all that speed into the corner, the rear of the car letting go. At this point, it's thrown him out to the grass. He's got the brakes on. But once you touch that grass, there's only one place you're going at Coca-Cola Bend. And unfortunately, it is to the barrier. And that explains the story for him. And we also did have this for Connor Spruce on lap number 5 only a few moments ago. This was your 27 driver running in 4th place with Ben Sieber hot on his heels. Made his way towards turn number 9 and went a bit too wide there on entry, and the rear of the car letting go. Ben Sieber doing very well to react there, and Spruce going around, but he is back racing. But with that, we go back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen, and in good time as well, because Richard Revins and Harry Fletcher still fighting. And Fletcher right now keeping his head on down as they roar the way through. Now, we do actually have an update from Kurt Fawcett in the YouTube chat, K Fawcett Racing, but just before we come to that was Harry Fletcher trying to go for a daring move up the inside of Richard Revins. He's really trying to tease out these moves right now, and understanding for Fletcher, when he gain those places, quicker rather than slower. But in terms of an update from Kevin Fawcett Racing, or Kurt Fawcett Race, I should say, saying my wheel broke when all light and shifters stopped working. Well, very sorry to hear that, Kurt, and that's not the way anybody wants to end the race, and indeed an expensive way to end the race as well. Hopefully you can get that fixed. Indeed, you've been a big star out there over the course of the season, including today, and hopefully you can get to the bottom of that before the season finale. Got our fingers crossed for you straight away, because it wouldn't quite be the same if we don't have the Alti3M car there. As meanwhile, Harry Fletcher up the inside of Richard Revins, taking that 9th place. Making that work out, and well, as they roar the way on through. Well, right now, the number 66 driver here definitely keeping his head down, and the EFR Rotor Racing driver, I think, trying to pick up these places one by one. We'll pick up Thomas Stephen there, who makes an absolute mountain out of a corner in terms of turn 3. Ran a little bit too wide, and will collect the car together, goes to rejoin, but toes the pit lane there. I wonder if something on that car for Thomas Stephen has broken, and well, I wonder if it's where he's clipped a curb potentially. You can break these cars by clipping curves aggressively or at the wrong angle, and indeed that's the thing on iRacing as well. It does model curb strikes. As meanwhile, Finley Secker tries to strike for a position rather than the curb as he looks at the inside of Max Veron, but that's not going to work out there for lead of the race as we go into the second half. Indeed, so much battling going on here, left, right and centre right now. Indeed, you can look anywhere and find a story to tell. We've got to try and find all the stories to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as they make their way down towards turn number 1. And as they do, Philly second right now, definitely trying to make it 2 from 2 as he goes all the way on the inside. And Max Veron did not expect that to happen. A bit of contact between the two of them. Well, the Max Veron definitely being lifted up onto 3 wheels for a brief moment. And well, it's 4-wheel racing rather than 3-wheel. He is not going to be a tricycle at this point. Although, understandably, I think the way the car bounced around, he'll feel as though it was a tricycle for a brief moment as Mark Martin watches on from behind. But these two absolutely fighting as much as possible. Second trying to go around the outside again. And will be elbowed out there. Max Veron going to try to hold that position as best he possibly can, but neither one wants to give up. And Max Veron right now digging in here for the lead. A brilliant battle between them, but only one can take the victory come at the very end of it as they roll the way between the apex and up towards turn 9 they come. Second, we know, can win races. He won the first race here today. And well, that's not to be sarcastic or smart. It's just a simple fact. He's been absolutely galvanised by what is that win in race number 1. You can see it, the body language of the driver right now. He's absolutely frightened find himself at these corners. He goes all the way out the inside. And Maxwell goes to turn in there. Finley Secker right now. This is the Finley Secker we saw at the start of the season. He is back. He left Oschersleben feeling absolutely dismayed at what had happened in Germany, saying his chances of top 3 were completely over. And right now, this is a very different man here today. But here comes Mark Martin looking at the inside. Now his Secker going to back out. No, he's going to fight it on the outside, but he does touch the grass. Can he get it stopped in time? He can, but Mark Martin right now proving if you give it an inch, he's going to try and take a mile as they head up towards turn number 3. And right now, the leading trio here fight each other absolutely on the limit. As meanwhile, further back, Gabriel Ducha finding now he's got to try and hold on to. A car's been pushed to the limits by Harry Fletcher, and Kira Boylan just in front. And Boylan could be on course for a top 5 here. If she's able to keep this together, well, I think she'll be on course for her best result of the season in the number 14 here in Australia. We'll never say never, to be fair. She's been pushing towards the top 5 this season. She's had quite a bit of bad luck, particularly in the first race today, and more so her feature races have typically seen her have better fortune. But right now, a huge haul of points could be coming to her at an important time as well. But coming all through the corners right now. And we're understanding for Boylan, all she's got to do here is keep her head down. And that's the hard part. When you see a long queue of cars behind you and you are the lead car in that queue, it's very easy to get that mental pressure on you, whereby you start thinking more about the cars behind it, you start driving slower by default. But right now, going defensive there into the chicane. And that's the exact line she needs to do. Just simply put herself right in the middle of the road and say to drivers behind, and where are you going to go? And Gabriel Ducha immediately having to back off there. And Fletcher, Innes, Revit, Rogers, Spruce, they all get a little bit closer. Meanwhile, in the foreground, that's Ben Seaman minding his own business, but here goes Boylan coming across the road, but a bit of contact there between her and Ducha. Ducha gets alongside to the inside. Fletcher looks over the left, but Boylan and Ducha, they're too wide here. Boylan's on the left here, picture of the black cars. Into the braking zone they go for turn 1 and 2, and Boylan in the end will get that stopped in time, but notice how red hot those brake discs are going right now. They're getting to the point whereby braking ability will be compromised. They'll start to overheat, and the brakes will start to feel just that little bit more spongy, as if when you put your foot down the brakes, they're not giving you anywhere near the amount of force they normally would. As Boylan goes very wide at turn number 3, and here comes Dutra on the inside. He's going to go for a very tight line. They touch, and Boylan's going to be elbowed out there, but Dutra immediately tries to gather the car back together. It's getting very elbows out. It's getting scrappy between them now. Dutra wants it. Boylan wants it as well. Fletcher backs off immediately. No, and if he gets involved, we'll go over the bridge there. Nobody wants to cause a blockage on the bridge, I can tell you that. But meanwhile, Jaden Innes watches behind. So does Richard Rhodes. So does James Rogers. They're all just waiting eagerly. And Connor Spruce right now, as he's got John Shorter behind him, and Shorter finds himself in the familiar sadly position of being a lap down on the back of a huge battling pack. Well, right now for Shorter, can he be a little bit mischievous here? Can he try to goad Connor Spruce and also James Rogers into turning up the wick a little bit? I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to, but understandably, John even knows his limits in terms of the fact he is a lap down at this point. There's only so much he can do before he incurs the wrath of the drivers and potentially the stewards. But here we go. So Kira Boylan now going to attack that slipstream so strong. And then a start for straight. Boylan on the inside, right of your picture. Ducha on the outside, left of your picture in the black cars. And as they come through, well, now Ducha's going to have to try and hold it, but he's going to touch the grass. And as he tries to get the car, stops there. They all stop in time, but look at that. From Richard Revich trying to go around the outside of Harry Fletcher. And Fletcher simply says to him, you can try it, Richard, but it's not going to work. And right now, Richard Revich's getting inventive there. And, well, Fletcher just simply showing how good he can defend. He's just defended smartly here, no doubt about it. All these drivers coming on through, and James Rogers there. And right now, can Rogers potentially get himself towards the forefront of this? If so, remember, this is a 5th place on the line right now between all these drivers. And I think for all of them, if you do exclude Jaden Innes and Harry Fletcher, they would all be looking at a season best finish if they took their first top 5 of the season here today. So it could be interesting to see who exactly grabs that. And I think anybody who grabs it right now will be absolutely ecstatic. A lot of points available to them. Sadly, we have lost the car of Thomas Stephen and the car of Kurt Fawcett. Fawcett, of course, tuned in right now, gave us that update. And we do really feel for him. And, well, if Thomas is tuning in right now, as in Thomas Stephen, well, I'm sure some good luck's got to come his way at some point. He's just had no luck this season whatsoever. But we come from the middle pack battle to the very front of the field. And right now, Max Moron still hold off Finley Secker. And Mark Martin looking for a move instead. And so Secker makes a bit of a mistake. That overcooks turns 1 and 2. But Secker on the inside now as they both get ready to duel on the brakes. And Secker defends it well. But Max Moron will now open up a 1.2 second gap there. And this could be the day where we see 2 different winners in 2 races once again. Albeit I think right now, Finley Secker and Max Moron are both thinking, hold up a second, who said that this man could get away? And Max Moron right now be hoping they don't realise what's happening. As meanwhile, we've had a spin, I believe, for Kira Boylan in that middle pack. And it's caused that pack to fracture quite significantly, and we get a quick replay to explain what's happened to Kira Boylan. So this was Boylan battling with Harry Fletcher, got to the inside. Boylan went on the brakes. Oh, gives me the car snapped on her there. It was obscured by the camera angle. We will get a better image of that. And Boylan making contact with Evans and the rear of the car letting go. This is what it looked like on board from Kira Boylan's perspective. So into the braking zone she goes. Fletcher on the inside now gets the brakes on, and you can see the car jinked hard to the right, and that was Richard Revins on the outside there. He had nowhere to go at that point as Boylan in the end trying to go through the corner, and the rear of the car wasn't settled down there, so both drivers losing out. Well, big incident there, but understandably both of them get away with it, both going racing again. So well done to them both. Only a small touch in reality, but big consequences for them in terms of the places available. But back to live racing, 3 minutes left on the clock, and right now still more fighting to come between Finley Secker and Mark Martin. Secker going defensive, and right now Max Rod, he'll be absolutely over the moon, will the youngster, in the fact he's just able to gradually make the breakaway here, and it does look as though they're all pushing him as hard as humanly possible, but understanding they're pushing each other more rather than him, and that is a nice place to be when you're the leader of the race. Meanwhile, Gabriel Dutra trying to fend off Harry Fletcher, trying to look around the outside the corner. He picked up all the damage to the front of the EFR with Rotor Racing car, and we're using all the track limits and plenty more. See Jaden Innes take a look up the inside there, and Innes sees the doors open and says, no can do, Harry, I'm going to make a move on you, as they go up the hill. And well, as he does so here, Fletcher on the outside, he will be able to carry a bit more speed through the corner initially, but remember, as he makes way for a wider circumference, he's got more road to cover, and therefore he will naturally lose out here. But Innes right now can't quite close the door yet. Now he does. They get ready to go into turn number 9. Jaden Innes there working hard, but meanwhile Fletcher cutting back to the inside. Doesn't quite work out, so Jaden Innes up into 6th place at the moment, but his fight back and forth absolutely appetising to the eyes. We'll have to see which way it goes next. Coming in towards what will be turn number 12. Fletcher can't make that move happen. Stays behind instead. But 2 laps to go for our leaders. Right now, Max Rod still holding on. But Finley second, Mark Martin seems to have come to a bit of a temporary truce here, which is we're not going to fight until the final lap just because the leader may get away. Well, there they are. And then we do come back to the battle for 6th between Jaden Innes on the right in the all-white car and Harry Fletcher in the blue and what is a purpley-brown car. And once they make the way into the braking zone, turns 1 and 2 again, Fletcher trying to go around the outside. Innes is there, defending hard on the inside, but Fletcher gets the better exit and on the outside as well. He's now got the inside of turn 3. This may be a move being made here. Meanwhile, further back, oh, and that's contact there for Anton Gabrowski and Richard Revins. And, well, not quite sure what the story is between the two of them, but I can tell you the outcome, and that is that both have been collected together. Kevin Woodhead has passed both of them as a result. And can we get a quick replay of that? I think we might be able to. So this was Richard Revins battling at the time. That was a battle with, I believe, Kira Boylan. So onto the brakes he went, and went very deep into the corner, and Anton Gabrowski followed him deep, and in the end, Richard Revins could not control the car at that point as he tried to transition back from the gravel to the grass to the tarmac, and Anton Gabrowski being collected there. I think Richard Revins will put his hand up on that one afterwards. But meanwhile, we come back to your final lap here today at Oran Park, and Max Ron still leading, but Finley second goes for it. Oh, and he pranks him on the rear, and Finley second goes straight on. Max Ron goes round. And right now, I don't believe my eyes. Mark Martin takes the lead here. I don't think he's going to believe it either. And I think Finley second just getting right under braking. And right now, heartbreak there for Max Ron. He's going to be absolutely fuming as he toes the pit lane. And understandably, Finley second, I think he's going to have to tell us, well, that car's not turning right anymore. And well, for Mark Martin, all he's got to do now is survive half a lap. He's got less than a mile to go to see the checker flag and to see the top step of the podium. And in all of this, Ben Sieber, who started 14th in this race after finishing race 1 a lap down, he could be on course to run up spot. We've also got a black flag for Finley Secker as he continues to fall down the order. So right now, that car is going nowhere quick. And Gabriel Dutra, if he keeps this together and holds off Harry Fletcher, he will be on course for a maiden podium. Well, how about this? But as we come to Mark Martin at the front of the field, we'll last him out to Oschersleben. It was a tough day in the office. And in race number 1 here today, definitely a day with some question marks over it. But in race number 2 for Mark Martin, let's let him have his moment. He's your winner here today in race number 2 at Oran Park Raceway. And sometimes dreaming is believing. As for Ben Sieber, it's definitely going to feel that way as he comes on through to take the runner-up spot for DCW Racing. But who will be third? It is going to be Harry Fletcher, who comes on through. And with this third place, he will be your provisional 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup champion with a round to spare, passing Gabriel Dutra right at the end. And then we do see Jaden Innes and James Rogers coming through, with Rogers just missing out on his maiden top 5. Connor Spruce takes 7th ahead of Kelvin Woodhead, who comes on through the rear of the picture to 8th, and it'll be Anton Gabrowski ahead of Finley Secker. But keep in mind, Now, we do have a black flag for Kelvin Woodhead, so that is a drive-through penalty he cannot serve until after the race is done. So therefore, it will add about 40 seconds onto his post-race time. And, well, we'll have to wait and see what happens there with finishing positions, as our drivers all cool and calm down. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, we also had John Shorter finish in 12th place behind Richard Revens, was best of the rest. And then we do see Richie Older in 13th place. But for Harry Fletcher, well, right now, I think taking a deep breath there, as we do see the car of Finley Secker parking up alongside. But what a conclusion to the race, no doubt about it. And how Harry Fletcher found his way past Gabriel Dutra, we look at this first before we do bring you the provisional results. And this was their battle into the last couple of corners. And Fletcher had already found his way through, in fact. So where had he made the move happen? And the answer is it was making his way through turn 7 into 8. In fact, going into turn 9, he went for the move here. Brave move from the EFR with Rotor Racing Drive, but to be fair, that is definitely a move that is worth making, when you can sneak up the inside like that and Dutra having no response. But what a race. What a conclusion, no doubt about it, as we look back to your live circuit side pictures. And with it, let's bring you those results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here they are as they come up on screen. Goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a 20 minutes of racing action in the feature race here at Oran Park Raceway for round number 4 of the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, powered by the Sim Racing Collective and, of course, officially supported by the prize partners of Phil and Simagic, hosted on iRacing. And as we can see, Mark Martin taking his maiden win of the season in a surprise ending with Finley Secker and none other Max Browner coming into contact into the opening corners of the final lap. And in the end, the path just opened up for Mark Martin, and well, he was never going to say no to that. Ben Sieber coming all the way through from 14th to 2nd place. I don't think he's going to quite believe it. And Harry Fletcher, despite the car definitely looking as though it was heading for the scrapyard, the EFL Rotor Racing Drive taking that 3rd place, added to his 4th place from race number 1. Based on our mathematics we have in the commentary booth, it makes him your provisional 2026 champion. Gabriel Dutra just missing out on the podium, being passed that final lap by Fletcher, but did well to take that 4th place, his best result of the season so far. And Jaden Innes, 5th there. The Canadian driver back in the top 5, not quite a podium, but he will stay ahead of his fellow countryman James Rogers by the best part of 4 tenths a second. Connor Spruce took 7th there, just ahead of Anton Kabrowski, who made his way all the way through from 17th to 9th place, well to 8th place there, because do keep in mind the fact that we do have his post-race time penalties that have been accrued to drivers, and they do apply to both Finley Secker and Kelvin Woodhead, unfortunately. So it means Gabrowski has been promoted to 8th, Richard Revens to 9th place there for Rev Racing, with no luck coming his way today. He's had to really forge his own results, and Kelvin Woodhead there been demoted to 10th place. Finley Secker taking 11th in the end when all is said and done, and he'll be your last lead lap finisher classified for Drive Lounge Racing, and it was a lap down for Max Veron, having to retire the car right at the end after that prang to the back from Finley Secker coming into the opening braking zone. Indeed, we're not going to point fingers at either driver there. That's for the stewards to take a look at, but definitely a race-ending result for both drivers in a way. Moran taking that 12th place ahead of Kira Boylan, with John Shorter and Richie Holder complete your top 15. And then sadly, we did lose along the way Thomas Stephen and earlier on Kurt Fawcett. But goodness me, what a race, ladies and gents. I think I can take a breath now. I think I can actually take a sip of water in the commentary booth. In fact, I'm going to do that very quickly. Because what an incredible end to the race at Oran Park. Remember, this season is not over. We have got one more round coming in a week's time at Alton Park. We make our way back to the United Kingdom. But before we start to consider making our way to Alton Park, there is the question, of course, of those post-race interviews our drivers. So we're going to step away for approximately 3 to 4 minutes. But we'll be back. And when we are back, we'll be hearing from some of our drivers on what has been an absolutely brilliant day of racing action here at the Oran Park Raceway. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time to kick off our post-round interviews from Oran Park Raceway for our Rookie Sportscar Cup drivers. And we're going to be kicking off with none other than what will be Mark Martin. And indeed, what a day it has been for him as he joins me now in the interview room. Mark, good evening to you. Your maiden win has come, but what a way to achieve the win. I bet you don't believe it.
Yeah, it came as a bit of a surprise, really. I messed up the last corner. I went a bit wide, and I was like, okay, well, I've not got much of a chance of gaining it myself, so I'll just aim to grab the scraps. And the heavens just opened up, and I got gifted P1.
Well, definitely a very strange ending to the racing today, but a maiden win with it. But let's dial it all the way back to the start and talk a little about qualifying. 10th in qualifying. Were you happy with your qualifying performance?
I'll be honest, I was. I wasn't the most confident, considering that I've done probably 2 hours practice, and that is just today. So I wasn't the most confident coming into this race, and I wasn't really expecting much. So I was just attempting to push through, get what I can, and then move on to the next round. But worked a lot better than I thought it would.
Oh, 100%. And as we saw, going from qualifying to race 1, you did seem to have more and more pace coming to you naturally as the race went on. Did it feel that way? Because your lap times started off a little bit behind the pace, but suddenly towards the end of the race, you were flying.
I don't know. It felt very consistent. I felt very consistent. My lap time, my position in the car, my braking points, and all that were all very consistent. But I don't know. I didn't feel much quicker, but lap times clearly were showing that I was quicker. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, sometimes just being consistent is very valuable, and it proved valuable as you did take that 6th place. So it would mean that you would start 3rd for the purposes of race number 2, your highest starting position this season. I mean, were you thinking to yourself a podium is possible?
No, I'll be honest. Considering how quick everybody else was in that first race, I was expecting to get overtaken very quickly. But that didn't happen, and I realised after like lap 1, I realised there was nobody behind us really that was contesting, and it was just us 3 at the front, which made my life a little bit easier.
It definitely made your life easier, but sometimes being a pack of 3 can be tough in its own right. And I mean, you did have both Max Moron and Finley Secker, who they wanted to get their elbows out with you.
Yeah, they are tough. They're tough. They're tough to go up against. I struggled to get past them. I tried my best. I couldn't do much. But yeah, I mean, well, I got him in the end.
Oh, indeed. Although, just take us through from your perspective that final lap, because I can imagine going into it in 3rd place, you're probably thinking they're going to fight each other. You're probably gearing up to make some sort of move, but then by the end of the corner, they've parted ways, and your sonny got a clear track in front of you.
Yeah, as I said, I went a bit wide in that last corner, going on to that last lap, and I was a few seconds behind, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to overtake them myself. However, I'll attempt to stick with them. I'll do what I can. If they make a mistake, I'll try and capitalise on it. Which happened, and they both ended up crashing. Which then, yeah, it was a bit of a shock, to be honest, that they both spun out, and then I just went into the lead, and I just tried to not crash. Because I was sweating a lot, I'll be honest.
Oh, I'll bet. But I bet as you made you out that final corner, it must have been one of those pinch me moments as you saw the checker flag and you're number 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Of course. 100%.
Oh, fantastic. But of course, your best result of the season and a big haul of points. And what it means now is we head to Oran Park in a week's time, our final round of the season. And as the standings stand after a grand total of 4 rounds of racing, I do believe you find yourself heading towards the top 5. Do you think you can take the top 5 this season?
I'll try to do what I can. I'll try to do what I can.
All fair play. And just as we get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you?
To you for a great commentating and everybody else for a great race.
Well, Mark, it's been an absolute blast, and we have to give a big thank you to you for joining me for an interview. Congratulations on a season best round for yourself and your maiden win. A huge result, sets you up nicely for Oran Park, and we will see you there. But until then, have a great rest of your evening. Go rejoice, celebrate that win.
Thank you. Cheers. Have a good one.
Well, hearing there from none other than Mark Martin, ladies and gentlemen. I get the feeling he might be a little bit speechless, to be fair, and exhausted simultaneously. And that's sometimes the way it goes. You can hear it in his voice. I think this has become one of those has it really happened moments. And I think he's probably going to get out of the rig very shortly. Not sure he's going to have a shower or not. That's entirely up to him. But I think in about an hour's time, it's going to click. He's just won a race and the way it's happened as well. But to be fair to him, solid day today, and being very honest as well in the fact he was happy with his qualifying that given his limited practice, and in the race he was a little bit surprised to finish 6th, given the fact he didn't feel as though he had the pace on others, but that consistency he talked about, it really did shine. In race number 2 as well, breaking away the top 3 as we do see the pictures here on screen, and in the end, you never know what could happen. He had a poor run out the final corner, and by being further back, he avoided getting embroiled in the instant that would define the outcome of the race. And what Oran Park, could we see more of the same for Mark Martin? We'll have to wait and see. But ladies and gentlemen, with that, we now get ready for our second interview of the day. And as we get ready to bring them into the interview room, I do believe now we're going to be coming to none other than Finley Secker, who gets ready to join me in the interview room. And I think we've got an absolutely packed number of volunteers today, so we're going to get plenty of interviews. But indeed, we are now going to come to the man who was part of this top 3 battle all the way to the very end, although it didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to, because joining me now in the interview room is Finley Secker.
Cheers, Zach.
And Finley, as we now come to yourself, great day of racing, a maiden win on the board as well, but unfortunately ended on a bit of a sour note, but surely plenty of positives from today.
Yeah, I'm kind of a bit bummed about what happened race 2, but that was on me. I'm not going, oh well he did this, oh well he did that, oh my goodness, it's the worst thing ever, you know. It's on me. I feel kind of bad about that. I'm very sorry, Max, if you're listening. Yeah, very sorry. But no, race 1 I'm pretty stoked about. Who did I beat? Yeah, I beat Max again by 0.141 seconds. So yeah, it was very close. Yeah, I tried to defend off race 1. You know, I had some pace, but I didn't have all of it. So yeah, just had to defend as hard as possible and got the win in the end.
I mean, I have to jump in here because you've gone from a man who I think we can openly admit, leaving Osh's Leben, you were feeling quite down about what happened, to a bit of a giant slayer in the first race at Oran Park. I mean, you didn't just hold off Max Ron, but you also held off Harry Fletcher for several laps. I mean, that mustn't have been easy.
I don't know what happened with Harry because I was talking to him before the race and he was a good half a second quicker. And yeah, I don't know what happened with Harry because I was just able to get in front on the last corner. I think he broke really early, and then I was able to just stay ahead. He didn't have the pace that I thought he would have to stick his nose in. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Harry. Yeah, I'll have to go back in the replay and see what happened. But yeah, that was pretty fun. Yeah, just stay in front of Harry, stay in front of Max in race 1. Just yeah, got some great points. I think with the terrible races I had last week, I think this is definitely great to have a win.
Oh, 100%. And off of the back of that, we did see you, to be fair, have a brilliant race-long battle for at least a spot on the podium in race number 2, if not the win. I mean, before we come on to the instant, just take us through what it was like, because the three of you have broken away. You're constantly swapping positions back and forth, but there's always that question of who's going to be the leader.
Yeah, I don't remember who third was, but the blue car. They were being super aggressive on the braking, you know, like barging the way through a couple times. But it was fun. It was so much fun. Yeah, it was just, I caught up to them like 10 minutes ago, I think, past the blue car, and was able to just stay in that second position. Then they censored I'd be inside a couple of times. I finished them off, and I think probably their tyres must have gone, because they dropped some pace and they were a couple seconds back, and yeah, I was able to just keep up with Max, and on the last lap I followed it into turn 2.
Oh, it was unfortunate what happened on the final lap, and we do know, of course, no malice meant by that. It is going to happen when you're racing this close, and you're learning as you go. One to learn from, but you've got one more round, you've got your first win on the board, and it's a home circuit, it's Oran Park, so surely more podiums coming in the season finale.
Fingers crossed, you know. I want some of that Simagic gear, because let's just say mine's not the best. And we can always upgrade it to some Simagic gear. So definitely get some pedals or maybe a wheel, hopefully.
Oh, fantastic. I'm loving the fighting talk already, wanting to chase that spot on the championship podium. Well, Finley, just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
Big shout out to Drive Lounge Racing. I've had not that much practice. I've been away for a couple of days, so got back about dinner time, and just got straight on the sim and haven't been off since. They've gone through data, Gary 61, and literally found me about a second today, and it's been great having Drive Lounge Racing. Yeah, and then family, you know, they're one of my massive supporter of me, you know, helping me with like food and stuff, you know. Always got to have your McDonald's. McDonald's was always good. Yeah, they've always been helping me along the way, so yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Finny, we'll leave it there. Congratulations on taking your maiden win in race number 1. And whilst race number 2 didn't quite work out, understandably at the same time as well, there's plenty of positives to take today, and definitely rejoice about that maiden win. You deserve it, and we'll see you at Oran Park.
Thank you. See you next week.
So hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, from Finley Secker, and well, mixed feelings, understandably, given what happened in race number 2, and putting his hand up straight away and saying, this isn't an instant where I can point fingers at other people. I can't say that Max pulled across anything like that. And he's got it out of his system, and that's the hardest thing as a driver, where it's on the simulator in real life, owning up when you know you've got it wrong. Some will try to point the finger, they'll try to find a reason to say not all the blame lies with them. Of course, we're not saying the blame does lie with him, to be fair, just the camera angles we see will definitely show that perhaps he got it very wrong under braking, but also reflecting on the positives, the back and forth between himself, Max Moron, and Mark Martin as well. Talking about Mark Martin being a bit elbows out there, but the fact having to manage that, all part of learning the experience, and also reflecting on a very strong race one, but saying there, he didn't know what happened to Harry Fletcher's pace, because the pace wasn't there compared to what he thought Fletcher had, and will bring home that maiden win, even though he was pressured every step of the way. Finley Secker's definitely got the fire under him, and hoping at Oran Park he can end it on a high and finish inside the top 3 of the championship. Well, the possibilities are definitely there. But ladies and gentlemen, with that, we've got a few more interviews to come, and well, now we make our way, of course, to our third interview of the evening, because coming up next is going to be none other than Max Moran, who gets ready to join me in the interview room, and we'll get to hear the story of the man who's definitely had a very fun day at the office, as we do just rewind our tapes there, because of course we want to make sure we get plenty of race footage. And as Max Moran goes green there on the road, we go green to bring him in the interview room, ladies and gentlemen, as he does join me now. So as we welcome Max Moran into the interview room, Max, good evening to you. And whilst it may not have ended on the note you wanted, a podium and constantly fighting for the wins in both races, plenty of positives today.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to get any points out of both races. I'm very lucky that I got P2. I don't think that this is my strongest round, even though the pace was good. I just don't feel confident with this track.
Well, to be fair, pace may not have been confident, but qualifying, we saw you put together a very strong lap for third place, and the gap between yourself and the front row wasn't that big. It must have been a bit of a surprise to you then.
Yeah, it was quite a surprise, but the confidence in qualifying is here, and I know that I can get onto the front row in Alton, as it's a very strong track for me. As I've done good there in the JSCCE series. Hopefully a good result can come out in qualifying and both races in Alton.
Well, we'll have to see whether you can deliver a bit more in qualifying, perhaps. I mean, already delivering well, but more can be done. Let's talk a bit about race one. You say you were fortunate to finish second, but throughout the race, constantly on the pace of the leaders, and understandably, a bit of shuffling back and forth towards the end.
Yeah, it was really close between me, Harry, and Findlay, but I do not know if the incident between me and Harry, if it was my fault.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, understanding there was that little bit of contact between the two of you, and that always does leave a bit of a what if. But let's focus on some of the perhaps more certain things. A strong result or a strong showing, and in race number 2, before the incident happened, an incredible battle through the field that eventually became a three-way fight for the win.
Yeah, I just found myself fortunate to avoid all the incidents, as I got a good run into turn 2, and then I just ran away from the pack behind me. And then overtaking Mark Martin, I just ran away consistently on the pace until the final lap, which is a bit of a joke in my eyes. But I don't think that anything could have been done differently there.
Oh, indeed. It's unfortunate what happened right at the end between yourself and Finney Secker, but it shows you've got the pace to be on the podium and even win the races. So, coming back to looking ahead to Oran Park, looking to end the season on a high, looking to finish inside the top 3 in the championship?
Hopefully I can, hopefully I can finish in the top 3 in the championship. Still waiting for the championship standing after this race. I'm very nervous for the position I'm going to be in. But hopefully I can be in a fighting position to get onto the podium.
Well, I've definitely got my fingers crossed for you that you can be in a position to chase the podium, because we love seeing you up there week in, week out. Give it your all. Max, just before I do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
My family again, my dad and my stepmom, and the boys at Summit Racing. They've been very supportive of me in this championship. Yeah, the Discord chat is congratulating me after a strong result in race 1 and race 2.
Oh, well, that's brilliant, to be fair. Having the support of your team, always such a valuable asset as well. And it's so good to hear that you're surrounded by people giving you that support and encouragement. Max, we'll leave it there. Congratulations today on that solid run in qualifying and race 1. Appreciate it didn't work out in race 2, but I'm sure it's going to be even better in the races to come at Oran Park. But until then, have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
So hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, from Max Moron, the Simit Esports racing team driver, understandably, bit of mixed emotions there, and I think there is a bit of a spectre hanging over him because of the incident between himself and Harry Fletcher towards the end of race 1. He doesn't really know how that's going to be looked at by the stewards, and I think in the cool-down room, he is chatting at the moment with some of the drivers around him, including Harry Fletcher, which they do, to be fair. You see in motorsport in real life, as you do in sim racing, all the drivers going to the cool-down room, trying to discuss what happened, what could have been done better. But I definitely think there, and we've all been there, to be fair, as sim racers. I'm an amateur sim racer myself, whereby you're involved in something and it weighs on you very heavily. It's very hard perhaps to see the positives of the day, but he did reflect positive in the fact in qualifying, even though he didn't feel that he was on the pace, he definitely had a lot of pace in him to start third on the grid, and in race 1, definitely pushed hard there to chase the win, or at least be on the podium. And in race number 2, saying it did feel as though it was a bit of a joke there, but I can understand what he means by that. It's not pointed at the man who went into the back of him, Finny Secker. It's pointed at the fact that he felt as though with the win on the cards, or at least a chance for a podium, to see his race end in the barrier on the final lap, that's the joke there. That is the crushing part of it, but he's got a huge support network around him, and he's hoping the standings will show that he's still got a chance to finish inside the top 3, because the Simit Esports racing team tries to come so far over the course of this season, and he's so very much flourishing right now. And well, we look forward to him up there at Oran Park. Even if he's not in contention for a top 3, I suspect he'll give it his all to end the season with victory. But we get ready for our next interview, ladies and gentlemen. And as we do, well, I've got 2 more drivers waiting very eagerly to be interviewed. And coming up next, well, it's none other than, ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to welcome into the interview room very shortly the man who is essentially your provisional champion. Although I don't know if he knows it. So let's welcome in and see what he's got to say. It's Harry Fletcher. And as he joins me now in the interview room, Harry, good evening to you. And I do have to ask the question, based on the results you've seen today, do you know that you are what is our provisional champion with a round to spare?
Provisional? I do know that I'm leading the way, but I haven't won it yet. Like, nothing's settled yet. It should have been wrapped up tonight. I'm just frustrated that it's not. Just made hard work for it.
Well, what if I was to tell you that subject to any stewarding and things on those lines, you have scored the points to theoretically wrap it up? Of course, we'll wait for official confirmation, but what was the performance in race number 1 and your performance in race number 2 should in theory have done it?
That's not what I've been told by Kieran, but I mean, if that is the case, then I would very much like that.
Well, it could be that situation, to be fair. I mean, we'll wait for it to be confirmed. Kieran might have done some more maths compared to what I've done, but that's the way we've got it here in the commentary booth.
Oh, well, I hope your maths are right, because our team maths was we needed 32 points over Jaden this weekend to have a 93-point gap going into Oran Park. So I hope your maths are right, but we'll prepare if they're not.
Oh, fair play. Of course, there's a bit of maths exchange. Of course, like you say, my maths may be different from that being done by the organisers. But let's talk about something that's a bit more concrete. Let's talk about your results. Firstly, the win in qualifying, at least, taking that pole position. A very tight field this time.
Yeah, I didn't get much practice in as I was away over the weekend from Friday. I only got back at midday today, so it was try and get as much practice in as I could. Yeah, not so happy about that being a 4/10 gap like it was in previous rounds, so we'll come back on Oran Park and set that straight.
Oh, that's fair, and some work to be perhaps done going to Oran Park then to make sure you've got that comfort gap that you've had. But it did lead to a very exciting race number 1 where you found yourself under a lot of pressure to defend, to attack. I mean, it probably familiar space based on other racing you've done, but in this series at least, your first real taste of having to hold on to pole position.
Yeah, it is. This time having to really try and fight for it. Did get it on that one there, but then Finley was able to come back. So maybe he was able to turn on the tyres a bit quicker than me. I'm not too really sure what happened there.
Well, close to you, but like you say, Finley may have been able to get the tyre switched on, and we did see running very close in that pack, but then a little bit of a bump on the rear towards the end. I mean, forgetting the fact there was a bump to the rear of the car, you caught the car incredibly well. It could have gone wrong, but you kept it on the road.
Yeah, I'm used to having incidents like that just when you race before going into esports and other stuff, and just sometimes losing it there in practice, as you do. Just hold your brakes, give a bit of counter steer, wait for it to grip back up to you. As soon as it's from there, carry on. Try not to hit someone else on the rejoin.
Well, you kept it very clean on the rejoin, no doubt about it. And a 4th place in race number 1. And then when we went to race number 2, coming all the way through the field and then losing your front bumper, I mean, you didn't give up. You fought all the way to 3rd place.
Yeah, unlike West Ham did last season, I tend to not give up. Yeah, we're a bit of a Kimi Antonelli approach. It was same as last race as well. We can drive the car, like it's not going to absolutely murder me in the corner. We're going to press on and try and recover what we could. And, well, we did.
Well, indeed, but I've got to imagine with the car the way it was it harder to steer or perhaps losing straight line speed? Because on our screen you were missing a whole front bumper.
Just felt a little bit of understeer and a little bit of straight line speed, but it was more drivable than it was at Oschersleben. That would help having 4 wheels on the ground rather than 3.
Oh, to be fair, Oschersleben, the car wasn't a bit of a state, like you say, only having the 3 wheels touching the ground, but we got to see you put on some brilliant battling and, well, really getting to show your flair through some very tight corners. I mean, this Oran Park circuit, not easy to overtake at.
No, it wasn't, which was a bit frustrating. I did enjoy like the limited practice I did get from it. It feels like 2 different tracks, from the bridge up to the bridge and then after the bridge. Up to the bridge you can't touch any of the curbs, and then afterwards, yeah, you can really send it over them. And I love how it falls away from you and picks back up again.
Well, definitely a circuit to be enjoyed like you've described there. And with our races completed today, 1 round to go. Now, regardless of the status of the championship, Oran Park is next. A home circuit, perhaps. Surely you're going to be going for a double win there.
It's a bit of a mile away from London. Quite a fair few away. But yeah, no, the plan is finish it how we started at Snetterton, of go out there, put it on pole by a comfortable gap, go out there, win it in race 1, put it the stamp on it properly, and race 2, go out there and win again and make that championship watertight. We'll wait and see, of course, because having the pace is one thing, getting through the pack is a completely other thing, as we've seen in these past few races.
Oh, very true. I'm loving the fighting spirit from you already, and well, we look forward to seeing you take on Oran Park next week. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a thank you to?
Just teammates and my friends, just support and family. It's always been brilliant from them. Hope to do them proud next round. Let them down a little bit this one. I'll come back stronger for them.
Well, I'm sure they'll appreciate the fact you're digging even deeper for Oran Park in the season finale. Harry, it's been great catching up with you, and we hope you have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you at Oran Park.
Thank you. Have a good evening too.
So hearing from Harry Fletcher there, will be intriguing there, the fact he wants to know the answer of whether he's done it or not. Indeed, everyone wants to know the answer of whether he's done it or not. I can see a few messages there in the Motorsport UK Esports YouTube chat. But that aside, talking about the fact they're not quite having what was the opportunity to perhaps get the practice in he wanted. And, well, in the end, definitely a tough day today in terms of having to work hard and fight every step of the way. And in the race number 1, that was, things definitely going a little bit what was sideways with regards to the fighting. And in that small tap to the rear, he got the car back on the circuit and carried on. As simple as that. Wanted to make sure he made it safely to the finish. And then with regards to race number 2, well, fighting his way through even with all the damage on the car. And then found it was a little bit more understeer and also just a bit of straight line speed lacking, but not lacking for competitive spirit, and making his way back on to the podium. Well, a huge set of points through 2 very strong drives, and at Oran Park looking to put a rubber stamp on it and try and bring home both wins there. And I can't blame the man. He wants to end this one on the ultimate high. But with that, we do have the question mark of whether we do have our 5th interview available of Jaden Innes. We are just waiting for confirmation of whether he's available, ladies and gentlemen. If he is, well, we'll be bringing him in. If he's not, then that might be all of our interviews for today. And, well, we're just waiting for the words there from what will be Jaden Innes off screen to see if he can confirm if he is available or not. But something tells me he may not be. So what we're going to do is, rather than keep you all waiting, we've got something we can show you in the meantime, and that is, as we do look to the scenic view here, that is we can take a look at the standings, the provisional standings after what has been a grand total of 4 rounds of racing. And as those standings come up on screen, well, here we go. And here is the story, ladies and gentlemen, after round number 4 provisionally. As we look all the way to the top, and Harry Fletcher leaves Oran Park Raceway on 313 points to the 247 of Jaden Innes. Now, based on that, well, that would suggest that he has not wrapped things up there, and we may actually be a bit wrong here because he does not have a lead of over 92 points. So I do apologise. I've got the mathematics wrong there, and I can see exactly why I've got it wrong. Harry Fletcher still does need to wrap things up with some more points in the bag, so he does go to the season finale. And that will take us all the way to Oran Park. So Janus still keeps things alive, but he is the only driver now who can keep things alive versus what will be Fletcher. Ben Sieber is out of the hunt on 217 points. There's too big of a gap. And the DCW Racing driver sits in third. With Max Moron in fourth right now for the UK Esports Racing team. And, well, for Max there, knowing that what he's done, it brings him on 184 points. And he's well within reach of third place. However, full second place will definitely be a bit of a jump for him to do. Connor Spruce, well, he sits in 5th place in the meantime, and the privateer there, knowing that he's chasing after that 4th place and potentially that 3rd, with then it will be Finley Secker in 6th, and he's got a big hill to climb. 3rd place is highly possible, although 2nd place may be a bit of a stretch. Gabriel Dutra, Mark Martin, James Rogers, and Kelvin Woodhead complete that top 10, but noting how tight it is, anybody can be in that top 10 before the season is done. And Richard Evans in 11th place there, ahead of Thomas Stevens with Kira Boylan and Tony Gabrowski and Kurt Fawcett completing the top 15. But again, so tight between them to fight for the first spots outside of the top 10. With then John Shorter, Craig McCracken, Richie Holder and Matthew Shea completing those are points to their name. And then we do a Harry North in 20th place down 0 points, as it's also 0 points still for Lee Rootley, Beavis Lau, Lee Barry Allen and Dave Young. So that's how the standing stands, ladies and gentlemen, after a grand total of what is 4 rounds. Those are provisional, of course, subject to any stewards' inquiries from this race, but that's how we go into our season finale. And do we have Jaden Innes? No, we don't, sadly. So therefore, we're only going to have what will be a grand total of 4 interviews today. We have lost our 5th interviewee. And let's just give you a quick recap of who we have spoken to as we do show them on screen. We've spoken to, firstly, Mark Martin from our rookies tonight, and we're hearing the story of what was him overcoming what's a challenging qualifying session, but a happy lap with it to an improved amount of pace in race number 1, and then taking the win in race number 2. Finley Secker, well, we got to catch up with him straight afterwards, and he was the other maiden winner today, and the Drive Lounge Racing Drive almost making it 2 wins back-to-back, but it wasn't quite to be after his instant with Max Moron right at the end, and talking about that plus also his achievements. Then we came to Max Moron talking about his successes with the 3rd place in qualifying, plus the 2nd place on the podium once again in race 1, but the frustrations of race number 2 after working so hard to carve his way through. And then we came to the man who we thought was your provisional champion, but it does go to that final round, and well, it's Harry Fletcher there for EFR with Rotor Racing, and we'll take him pole today. The pace slipping away from him in both races, not knowing quite what happened, but knowing he's going to come back absolutely fighting fit going into the final round of the season at Oran Park. But big thank you to all 4 of them for their time in the interview room. We definitely do appreciate it, and we look forward to plenty more interviews before the season is over at Oran Park. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about how you can go racing with Motorsport UK Esports, well, definitely do head to our official website, and well, that website has been shown a few times on the screen today, but of course, our website being none other Motorsport UK. Just search that in the Google or whatever search engine you fancy, and look for our esports section, and you'll find out all the information you need to go on the grid with Motorsport UK's esports series, and we'll tell you a little bit more about what's to come in what will be the remainder of 2026 at the end of next round's broadcast. Speaking of which, next up is none other than Oran Park Circuit, our season finale, round 5 of 5, and save the date in your diary, Monday the 27th of July, and we will be going racing there for the conclusion of both our support series, the Hot Hatch Trophy brought to you by the Sim Racing Collective, and of course, powered by the Sim Racing Collective, the 2026 Rookie Sportscar Cup, also supported by our official prize partners, Phil and Simagic, and there we will see whether anybody in the form of Jaden Innes can potentially stop Harry Fletcher from becoming our champion. section. But just before we do go, of course, a big shout out to our prize partners. And to tell you a little bit about them, Phil, of course, established in 2017 by the founder of the world famous Team Redline and former head of Studio 397, that being Dom DeHaan. Phil is a pioneer of gloves specifically designed for sim racing, setting the standard for performance-focused racing gear designed specifically for the sim racing sphere. And drawing upon the experience of drivers who have had and are still competing in the highest level of sim racing, the carefully selected fabrics for Phil's gloves provide both breathability and lightweight comfort, ensuring your hands stay cool during extended racing sessions. And if you want to keep performing at your very best behind the wheel, make sure you check out Phil's range of sim racing gloves on their website at www.f33l.gg. Also, we must give a shout out to Simagic, the company founded in 2018 on the basis of the question, how can we bring the feel of racing into everyone's home? And Simagic has rapidly evolved its product range into a full racing ecosystem. And whether you're looking to get your hands on steering wheels, servo bases, pedals, handbrakes, shifters, every component is engineered in-house and built to reflect the company's commitment to innovation, quality, and delivering uncompromising performance when you are racing. So if you want to keep chasing pole positions, podiums, or personal bests, be sure to check out Simagic's range of products at simagic.com. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been round number 4 of the 2026 Sports Car Rookie Sportscar Cup, as powered by the Sim Racing Collective and supported by Phil and Simagic. And we will leave you with the thought that Oran Park is all to be decided in our support series and our main series. But until then, we have been Motorsport Esports UK. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. And until next time, to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.
Past all of them as well. What a move to the 48. Oh, look at this. And onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.